Just kidding. I'm not doing that again. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Xbox Ultimate Podcast, episode 156, I think is what we're on. Yeah, we're at 156. This has been a monumental week. I gotta admit, I'm freaking exhausted from this week. I mean, this has been a crazy week. First off, we had the biggest gaming leak ever, the biggest leak in Xbox history. Then we had Tokyo Game Show. Then we had some original leaks that came out from the FTC hearing from Tom Warren and company had posted lots of stuff. And then the next day, last night, actually, this morning, depending on where you are, this little thing happened. CMA decided to go ahead and give the preliminary approval for ABK to finally freaking close. So that is the road we're on, and what a week for Xbox. It's been an absolute freaking whirlwind, man. This is like one of the craziest weeks in Xbox history, probably. And we've been talking about it on a few different shows. PM and the PM almost went 4 hours last night. We had a fun FSP, but it's like every time we do a show, it's like the next night or that night, something crazy breaks. Right, so I did go live last night at like 2 a.m. Because I just couldn't help myself. I had to rub salt in the wounds, right, for all the naysayers, the unconsolidators or whatever you want to call them out there, But we're gonna have fun tonight. It's gonna be fun. Pong is not gonna be here because he is actually at homecoming game with his kiddos. So shout out to Pong Soul, and we miss you, bro. I'm sure he misses not being able to be on this one for this, but we'll hear more from him obviously next week. And make sure you check out him and Still Rain tomorrow morning, because I'm sure he'll have a lot to say there too. But let's get to the panel we have here. The amazing panel. Psychonauts, what's up, dude?
What's up, everybody? How's everyone doing on this beloved Friday evening? It's been great. Loving the energy out in the community, and the excitement is just contagious. And I just can't wait to get into some of these topics and really just relish in this awesome occasion.
This occasion. That's kind of what it feels like, right? Right on. This occasion.
Yeah.
Dearly beloved, we gather here today to marry Xbox and Activision Blizzard.
Pretty much.
Phil, do you take the ABK to be your lawfully wedded company?
Objection! I'm the CMA.
No, you can't do it. You already said
Hold
okay.
on. It depends on which platform you're on. It's either a marriage or a funeral, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah,
that's a lot of crybaby fucking. Like, oh, this is so bad for gaming, everybody. This is what I'm going to talk about right now. You know what I mean? We can't stand for this.
Yeah, or like people trying to just bring up, which was a conversation yesterday about Xbox is going to be closing in 2027 if they fail to meet 50 million or subscribers or whatever the number was, and that was interesting. How much that got carried around based on some like interrogation type questions from the hearing or whatever to Phil Spencer, and it's a bunch of nonsense if you ask me. But anyway, Fuzzy, how are you doing, sir?
Doing pretty good. Yeah, this is like gamer Christmas this week. I mean, pretty much it started off with the leak. Then you had some games coming to Game Pass, and then Tokyo Game Show, and now the ABK deal is finally wrapping up. So yeah. This has been a roller coaster ride in a good way for Xbox fans. Man, it's been a long time coming. So yeah. Let's do this.
There's been a lot of news that actually overshadowed this week, right? Like mainly the games coming to Game Pass and stuff, the Tokyo Game Show stuff. Like, and I, to be honest, there wasn't much really exciting from the Tokyo Game Show. Like, you did have a couple cool announcements there. We'll get into some of that later, but overall, things are looking good there, and on the upswing in Japan, and those territories for for Xbox.
Yeah.
Jasper's been relishing in a new kind of Starfield glory this past few days. How are you doing, sir?
Doing pretty good. Thank you to Alvin. I get to finally play Starfield on PC, and it looks good and runs good. So I got to experience what Starfield looks like finally. After 160 hours, I can finally see its full potential.
Yeah,
it's pretty good.
Yeah. A little bit night and day, right?
Yeah.
Difference. It's hard to actually quantify that, like, but when you see it, like, it's pretty substantial. It doesn't mean the Xbox version is bad, you know. It's just that you see like what the scope of the game, right, and kind of why they had to do some of the things they did on Xbox. And then with the PC, like if you have a good PC or whatever, those limitations are kind of gone from like console hardware, right? So you get to see a lot more of the detail, and that's the main thing that we're talking about is the detail, right? Like NPCs and all the kind of stuff, the textures on material, all that kind of stuff, just kind of like is on a different level, right?
Yeah. I beat Starfield today, so I was like, well, what else is there to play? So I went back to Jedi Survivor on Xbox, and that game it runs good now, but it just looks like a 360 game.
Right. I still don't understand why so many people are blown away by the graphics on that game. I honestly
10 out of 10.
I honestly think Jedi Fallen Order looks better.
Yeah.
On a Series X.
So I'm just gonna I think I'm just gonna wait till it comes to Game Pass on PC, or it goes to like $5 on PC.
Yeah. But like when it launched, it had really bad PC performance too, which I don't know if that's fixed. Have you played it on PC, Fuzz? You're on mute. On Discord.
No, I haven't.
Okay. Do you play it on Xbox?
Yeah, and I kind of like forced my way through like that whole performance issue from like the launch. It was like getting on my nerves, and I was like, all right, quality mode it is, and just finish the game because it was seriously pissing me off. Like honestly, it's the last EA game I buy day one.
Wow. That's pretty damning, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
well, it's like with the exception, believe it or not, with the exception of Need for Speed Unbound, which I think that was more of my Xbox that was the issue. Every game over the past 4 or 5 years has been like crap at launch. Like I'm done with EA.
Yeah.
So
wow. Okay.
That's it.
Well, Criterion is going part of the Battlefield team now officially.
I mean, they
Vince
fucking helped on the last like 4.
I know it's like I don't know how much changes other than like Vince Zampella has control over them now, I believe, right? So it's kind of, but they're still also going to work on Need for Speed games. So, which I think they did a good job in the last one, right? So
yeah.
But yeah, man, it's been a crazy week. But let's say hello to the chat. Sup to Calorie. What's up, man? Calorie's been sending me lots of DMs with like lots of is some of the information and stuff that's out there. Appreciate that. Same to Tom from Toonami and Sith Lord. Lots of different people been sending me stuff with all this news breaking the last few days and stuff, and it's really cool to see like the excitement from the community about a lot of this stuff, right? Shout out to Amit Kumar, Alvin again. Alvin, Jasper's trying to be calm, cool, collected here, but he was an emotional wreck behind the scenes. He greatly appreciates it. Dark Zone, 2525. What's up to you, Lord Roughness? How's it going? Poison Maniac, Anonymous Boss, how's it going? Nola Origins, how you doing? Nam Omar, what's up? Why so serious? How you doing? Talos Re, ADM, man, it's like lots of awesome people here in the chat. Got a lot to talk about. Man, and it's kind of hard to pick where to start, but we'll start with the freshest news and we'll kind of go back from there, right? Kind of like do a treading back the week timetable a little bit. Last night, 2 a.m. my time, 3 a.m. Eastern, news broke. I saw first was a tweet from Lulu Chang Maservi that said they were granted a preliminary approval from the CMA. Like, what? Then I see Brad Smith tweet, and Brad Smith had actually shared the article from CMA on gov.uk. Then I saw the memo from Bobby Kotick saying again a preliminary approval. And then I kept reading through things, and it's like read the actual article on gov.uk from the CMA, and they're posting there saying that all the concerns they had have been remedied. Even the new concerns they have, Microsoft had made proposals that they feel like is going to appease their concerns, and they have conditionally given the preliminary approval. Their next step now with the CMA is for third parties to weigh in. If there's any final objectors or anything like that, they get to make a little bit of a case there. Also, with people in support of it, which has been far more in support that have weighed in so far to the regulators with this. There's really no stopping this now. It's about basically formalities. It's about getting through the final part of the process that they have with the third-party part being done on October 6th, at which point then the CMA can make their final decision. And as multiple people from the teams have posted, they expect the closing to happen before the deadline of October 18th. So we're just in a little bit of a formality period here. Phil Spencer made comments as well saying it was great news, all this kind of stuff. ABK is coming to Xbox. There's really no more ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's no more this is going to happen or that's could happen or this could happen. Really, I mean, unless you're just like the absolute, like, want to have the opposite opinion of everybody in the world, like, then this thing is going down. And I feel like actually guy is going to say something right here.
I was just going to say, I'm not saying it's over till it's over. Until Microsoft has shifted the money, it's not over.
It's over. It's thing's over. It's so over, bro. It's so over. I said a long time ago it was 100%, and then like the CMA did their shenanigans, and then turned out to still be going through, right? And we all kind of felt like this day was coming, right? But you had that inkling just because of who the CMA's been throughout this whole process that like they could still try.
I mean, they came out today and they fucking blame Microsoft. They're like, Microsoft, if they would have approached us first this way, they wasted us so much time and the money for the government. How dare they? They're fucking useless.
Can we talk?
If you approach us next time, make sure you come with a proper plan. We don't want to do this.
That was Sarah Cardell, right? So
fucking
that was actually part of the post that they made, and what I call that is trying to save face, trying to still make it seem like you were in the right all along, and like, oh, look at what we did, all this kind of stuff. Like, here's the thing. Like, I saw, shout out to Mike Mullis, who actually noticed this, because I saw his tweet today on a quote tweet. There was no emojis or anything like that from CMA's post last night, right? There's no kitty type bullshit, no like things like, oh, no, like a block or nothing like this. Is just like, okay, yeah, here it is. It's going through pretty much. But then if you read the article, Sarah Cardell did say that she's the CEO of the CMA, where she was like, but I have to say it would be way better if Microsoft would have actually submitted this proposal in the first place, or submitted it along the way with the first thing. Now, here's the thing I got to say to Sarah Cardell. You're full of shit, right, Sarah? Because 40 other countries looked at the same thing that Microsoft proposed. And guess what they said? They said, good to go. The CMA had issues. The FTC had issues. When the CMA had issues, what did Microsoft do? They went up and signed deals with all these third-party companies with cloud deals that you guys completely ignored and chose to not acknowledge for your own dumbass reasons, right? So, even when the shit went to the trial and the actual cat judge was overhearing, he was like, hasn't enough changed for you to be able to actually significantly look at this and say it's substantially changed to look at the same thing? So they didn't have to open a whole new proposal? The CMA was like, well, we can't really look at that stuff. It doesn't count, right? Why the fuck not? Like, it's your own issues with your own processes and systems that made them have to even do this whole fucking second proposal thing. Even the cat judge was trying to tell you not to do that. They were trying to give you the easy way out. This was all about you trying to save face when you went on camera numerous times and said how bad this was for an industry, and the rest of the world said, "Oh, this doesn't see any problem here. Everything's good to go. Everything's good." Then Sarah's like, "Nah, this can't happen because of the cloud," making up some bullshit, right? Here we go. Sarah, you're full of shit. You're saving face now. Whatever. It doesn't matter. You can play your little game, play your politics, and try and be the all-powerful CEO of the CMA, the almighty blocker, right? But turned out you lost. You ended up having no power whatsoever because your own government probably forced you to do this shit. The timing was very, very interesting with the same day that this went down. Oh, guess what? You see the UK Chancellor actually meeting with Bobby Kotick and other members of the games industry, open for business all of a sudden. Huge fucking surprise there, Sarah. Well, you know what? You just got put in your place, and nobody's buying your bullshit. You can say
And
whatever
in
you want on
2
camera.
weeks or whatever, they'll be irrelevant. They'll never hear of the CMA again until some fucking other $70 billion game industry deal happens. So,
But I mean, ultimately, this is the same deal that we kind of knew about. There's a little bit of intricacies about the like stuff about emulators and like some kind of stuff that's really not going to impact us or anything like that. But pretty much the same deal that was proposed in the second proposal. Now it's going to get pushed through. ABK is getting closed. This chapter's coming to an end, guys. There's not going to be another huge extension or anything like that or whatever. So I'll start with Psycho because he seemed the most giddy to talk about this. How would you feel about the decision that went down last night?
I think it was a waste of time to drag it out this long, to pretty much this is
wasting
as you
everybody's
said,
time and money, right? Like,
yeah, because like you said, this was kind of saving face to try to do this, trying to like, haha, look, we made Microsoft do. But at the end, we all know it was nonsense and should not have happened. I see a lot of people running with the narrative where, oh, now with Ubisoft, if they get acquired, what will happen to ABK? Will it now be whoever acquired it and all this other stuff? And just total nonsense. Because I know it did say that Microsoft can't buy any percentage or the entirety of Ubisoft for 10 years. So I wonder how that, because the way Ubisoft is going right now, as you could tell, they kind of not financially in the best spot because they keep funding all these games and have not released it. So, but again, kind of went off topic here, but shut up, Jasper. God damn it. But with the CMA, I definitely see this was definitely a win for everybody, for news finally being over, not having to deal with is ABK is going to be a done deal, yada, yada, yada. But now this way, Microsoft can focus on acquiring, Crystal D, Midas Montreal, and the other studios that we've been thinking about. So they're not done. So I know that the whole CMA thing was just silly. So
what about you, Fuzz? Because you were awake. I remember I saw you pop in the chat last night, and you were like, "What, really?" Like, what, really? It's like crazy to see that come down, especially at the time. I guess it was around probably 8 a.m. their local time, right? So that's probably why it hit then. Initial feelings on that. You happy it's wrapping up?
Oh yeah, finally. Like, one, aside from the investment aspect of it, I'm just glad that we can finally move on to bigger and better news kind of stuff.
Right.
I mean, Starfield kind of did that to some extent with a great, first party release for this year and stuff like that. And they got another one right around the corner. Some great stuff coming to Game Pass. So instead of ABK being like a focus or like a, waiting to exhale kind of thing, it's glad to see it wrapping up. And now, I mean, on the flip side of things, we could always look forward to who's next. But before we even get into that conversation, the whole thing with Ubisoft and miraculously they announced like Division 3 today, or was it? Yeah, today or yesterday or something like that.
Yeah.
So that's another big one as well.
Yeah. I had a blog post.
Yeah. Well, it was weird. It's like it should have been more than a blog post type of thing. And then the state of play should have been a blog post instead of an actual showcase. So
right.
It's kind of a role reversal to some extent, but
you would think, they could have like, hey, would be big PlayStation, like, hey, let's reveal our game at your show or whatever. I don't know how that stuff comes together, but like, it's just.
Well, I'm hoping Xbox gets the marketing rights for Division 3 again, or for the next division, like they have for the previous two. But the whole CMA, it seemed like before they even went to the trial thing for the CAD or whatever it was, as far as the tribunal, it just seemed like the politicians over there were adamant about like, this needs to be fixed or resolved kind of thing. And it looks like cooler heads finally prevailed. But it's going to be interesting. If you look at first party now, with that being first party, Xbox has had an amazing year between Call of Duty dropping this year and Diablo, even though I know it's had its highs and lows and whatnot. But this is, the icing on the cake. Now they can, hopefully move on to getting, things like Crystal Dynamics or Eidos Montreal or Certain Affinity, like some of the smaller studios that they kind of probably had to put on hold as far as acquisition or anything like that because of the whole ABK deal. Now we could get to see them hit the ground running as far as working towards mobile, hopefully give more competition to the App Store and the Play Store, which, us as gamers or as consumers, we benefit. More competition out there, the better. It's great seeing the pony tiers out there. It was funny earlier on Boom Show.
Like, I hope that like now that they're like 99% sure that this is going through, now maybe like Microsoft and Activision starts working in the back end. Like, we know it's about to go through. Like, can we start working on getting the Game Pass games like before we actually sign the paperwork?
Yeah,
like get some of that stuff rolling right now.
I wonder though, like if Activision Blizzard could have been doing some of that, like just by themselves, like I don't know.
I kind of think they would, because remember the whole thing with the Transformers deal. Like I think there's some behind the scenes stuff that's not potentially shareholder concerning as far as stuff that's been going on in the background. Like a lot of times mergers, they're not supposed to intervene in any way, but if you've been in that corporate situation, you know that it happens. It's just that things are done up to a point and put on hold. Okay, once the paperwork is official, then we can move forward, but let's get all the run up stuff done. So whether it's server transfer stuff or prepping, moving of assets and things along those lines, all of that stuff I think was probably done months ago. And then it wouldn't have been too much difficulty to, shred or scrap whatever if things did fall apart. But I kind of feel that they've known for at least the past 3 to 4 months that, this thing was it was an inevitability, let's say. And a lot of, pre-work is already in the works kind of thing. But man, I guess the next big thing is who's taking bets on how long Bobby lasts. And I always think of this as like a little side joke bet.
I think 8 months to a year.
Well, who gets ousted first? Bobby from ABK or Jim Ryan from Sony?
Oh, that's a good.
Jim Ryan's got like 3 years left in him.
You think?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I would say at max 2, but I don't know. Like I think it's going to depend on what the numbers look like starting up next year. Like
Well, that's
we
interesting
also saw
because we
from
just
those.
had the from the leak. We just had the PlayStation profit. I mean, they were making what, like 1.1 billion in profit or whatever.
What
Like, I'm sure that looks pretty good to.
1.4 is what that chart said, and
Yeah,
those
whatever.
numbers aren't going to be 100% accurate. But at the same time, like to get that, they had to spend a whole lot more money than the competition did, right? So like the margin is a lot less, right?
But I'm sure it's still fucking pretty good for Sony. Like, oh, we're making fucking
Yeah,
1.4 billion. It's like
it's been known for a long time that like PlayStation is their most profitable asset at Sony, right? So they can't really afford to lose like too much profit from PlayStation's side as a company. But it's also like they're trying to figure out ways to expand that at Sony.
And I'm wondering if the margins are better now under Jim versus Sean. Like I kind of get the gut feeling it wasn't a steep enough increase from Sean to Jim. Not that
well,
they
I
could
would
get
assume
Sean
that
back, but it's like
that's tough because I would assume that the profits for Sean are probably like the margins are probably better because they didn't have to do as much research and development into like side technologies like VR and services and stuff like that. But at the same time, like the gaming population was lower back then, so it's like people probably weren't spending as much money on games.
Yeah, but
it's
the
a
highest
tough one.
selling console of all time for PlayStation is the PS2, right? So it's like, yeah, the users, there's more gamers now, but if the console is your primary user base, right?
Yeah, but
then
they also didn't have services back then, so there was no like microtransactions really back then.
Yeah, but PlayStation first party game for third party, yeah, it's huge on PlayStation because they have a large console user base. But like on for first party, a lot of their games haven't had that, right? And they're going to now. That's what one of the transitions they're doing. They're going more services based. They're doing more live service games. They're doing more. They're trying to. It came out last year through some leaks that they're working on a PC app. All these different things, and I really think that they got to get a lot of that stuff going because the more that Xbox keeps growing their ecosystem with acquisitions and stuff like this, they already have the groundwork done of the tech behind this, right? They have cloud implemented for playing on multiple devices and all this kind of stuff. They have games going day one in all these services. They have a PC storefront, right? They have cross-buy, right? They have all these other features already implemented, right? They have a larger subscription base of users as well, right? So they have that already built in. So like Xbox right now is more built potentially for the future of the ecosystems of where gaming's going, where PlayStation has a lot more work to do to get there. However, like they also have a very dedicated, big-time fan base that's going to go along for the ride with them, but they've been the same ones crying for everything to stay the same for so long, right? That it's kind of
So
put them
you're
in a
saying like Jim Ryan's kind of like a Phil Spencer that we got in Xbox One generation, where he's coming in and changing PlayStation, getting him up into the future.
except for the fact that Jim doesn't understand games and Phil
Yeah,
does.
no, I'm just fucking
right. Like as far as like moving the business to do things that it needs to do, I would say yes, but I think he's also battling an old school mentality that's in the core within Sony and PlayStation, and he's not able to implement everything that he wants to as quickly because he's not the actual big time decision maker behind everything there, right? Like whereas like Phil is kind of the guy, everything runs through him. They make people make their proposals to Phil, then he takes it up to the board, right? He takes it up to Satya or Amy Hood and stuff like that, right? So like the leaks that came out for the hardware things and all that kind of stuff was like from the hardware team's proposals that were essentially going to be made to the higher ups at Xbox, which includes like Phil Spencer and stuff like that, and then presented, I would assume, for to get extra funding and stuff like that to try and meet the long term goals that Xbox has, right? Like because the point of that whole leak was about these are our gaps that we're missing now to get to where this end goal is, right? So this is what we
and
need
their
to
end
do.
goal is having Xbox the dominant platform by 2030.
Yeah, 100 million subscribers they want by 2030, right? Across multiple devices and stuff like that. And I honestly don't think it's unobtainable, right? I mean, it's a long way, and I think people are more and more getting used to it, and you add ABK to the mix, you add all these other games that are starting to launch, and the pipeline of content is starting to really get good as far as first party goes as well. Like, there's no reason why I don't think they can do that, but I do agree with them that I think they need more. They need other kind of experiences too to get in other kinds of gamers that aren't necessarily interested in Xbox right now as well, right? And that's kind of where part of those pyramids and all that kind of stuff come into play. So,
I kind of figured Xbox was pretty close to that 100 mil, or would be close by the end of this year, just because of the Game Pass core, which were the Xbox Live customers being converted over. If they combine all of that, that's what, like 60 plus mil, and then the 30 mil that they already had in Game Pass. So
yeah, and I don't know what they're using those or not. Like, that's interesting because that wasn't part of the roadmap at that time listed, right?
I wonder if there's a way where they can get Call of Duty, like, let's say you download Call of Duty on PlayStation, and then it's like you get a pop-up message like, if you want to play like the core multiplayer mode, you can sign up for Game Pass. Just go to xbox.com, sign up for Game Pass, and then you can like get a code and like enter that code, and it activates multiplayer on PlayStation, so you don't have to buy the game, but you could still be a Game Pass member just to get them in the ecosystem.
Like cross-buy, but you get access to it on PlayStation without actually having to buy it on PlayStation. That would be crazy. I mean, at that point, that's like just rolling the PlayStation into another family of the Xbox devices, right? Like, which would be crazy. But I don't know if PlayStation would let that fly. I feel like they would find some way to nix that. But yeah, it'd be great. It'd be very interesting. Shout out to Risket for the biscuit and the Xbox Infinite chat and viewers for hopping over here with the raid from Risket. I always appreciate that, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome show, by the way. I was in the chat earlier, listening in a little bit. Oh yeah, it's a big deal though. Like, to actually be able to think about this without the what ifs, like, but what if they don't, or like, what if this doesn't happen, or now it's just about like, how long is this going to take for this to be implemented? Are these other studios actually going to be able to work on other projects besides Call of Duty? And to your point earlier, we were talking about the back end stuff, right? Like I wonder, like, if they've already been working a little bit on this stuff, or if they're going to start working on it more, because I know this is going to close. There's interesting things that have already been at play that we've seen for a while now. I think it was even like last year, you like notice Candy Crush shows up on the Xbox store, like on the console. Like, you can search it up. It's like Candy Crush is there. You can't launch it, right? But it's just sitting there, ready to go. And it's like, why is that there? There's not like other mobile games like that in the storefront there, So it's like already trying to do the back end stuff of things that they know are going to be like a big time thing for them. I feel like getting prepped and ready without actually pulling the trigger and activating those switches. But they also did say it's not going to be like all of a sudden the deal's closed and we get 1,000 games into Game Pass, right? There's going to be waves, and it's going to take time for them to actually do some work on those games to actually get them implemented as well. So who knows how much of that could have already been done behind the scenes, or how much is in the works. But it's going to be. That's for damn sure now. Right. And I think it's gonna be an interesting holiday season now. Like, with this ABK closing, I think it's gonna be huge news once it actually does officially close. You're gonna are we gonna have like a roundtable ABK Xbox roundtable discussion thing, kind of like we had with ZeniMax Bethesda? I think they might do something like that. What about you, Psycho?
I definitely think they're gonna have a roundtable. I mean, they did it with Bethesda, and that was only a $7.5 billion acquisition. Yeah. When you spend 70, you better have a roundtable discussing things that are going to happen. What kind of like what they did. They didn't give away too much, but they kind of laid down the foundations of what is going to happen. Games are going to be on wherever Game Pass is, things like that, to kind of clear the air. Hey, this is what's happening in Call of Duty. Hey, this is what's happening with other games. They're going to be exclusive to the Xbox ecosystem. via Game Pass. So on console, we'll have the exclusivity.
Yeah, they
But-
need to. The second that they sign off, they need to come out and say whether the new Call of Duty is going to be in Game Pass.
This year's?
This
Yeah.
one will not. This
Yeah.
will not. We know it will not because it has Sony marketing. That's why they
Unless though, like, there's a whole thing about this, like, unless Sony like wanted out of that deal,
Yeah,
right? But
they're getting all
and
the
depending on if the
perks.
deal said that you can't go into a service, like,
I just
because if the deal, I don't know.
it's gonna. I don't think it will be this year. I think the next year's or whatever the next one we get will probably be the first one. But like, it's gonna be. I do think we get a roundtable because like, it's a big deal, and I think more of the purpose of it would be to like reassure Call of Duty fans, reassure, like Diablo fans and different people that are fans of these different games about the intentions that Xbox and Microsoft has for the future of the franchises and the games. And then
Or
maybe
at least give you like a roadmap for how long you think that these games would take. Like, because you got so many like big franchises you just bought. Like give us an update on like how you're going to implement that into your service or some shit like when.
Or if they'll give an inclination, like with a blog post, like Phil said, one of the first things he said when we got announced of ABK was that he was excited for once it closes to be able to go meet with the teams and see what kind of projects they want to work on, right? Because they've been very open with ZeniMax, Bethesda, and also the other teams that they've acquired so far to let them work on their projects that they want to work on. Now, obviously, they got to keep the Call of Duty thing afloat, right? Obviously, they got to keep King working on all their stuff, right? And Blizzard, I think, is already more cemented than anything else because they already have like some big projects that are behind the scenes that we know they're working on. But the Activision side, all those other developers, like, what's going to be the answer to like Toys for Bob or for like teams like that, like High Moon Studios? Like, is this going to be like a level of freedom that they all of a sudden have to be able to pitch projects? Raven Software, right? To be able to pitch projects and say, yeah, we can still do support Call of Duty on this or that, but like we have this team of that really have this great idea, and you could end up having a game come out like a Hi-Fi Rush or like a Grounded or like something like that. Like, because Obsidian's wasn't the hugest team in the world, right? But they're able to do so many damn different things, right? They have Grounded, they've been working on Avowed as well, and everything else that they've been doing. It's like so many different things with Obsidian. So like you compound that to all of ABK and Activision, especially with all of those different studios that have a history of making all these different kinds of games. You can't tell me that there's not people at High Moon and Raven and Toys for Bob and all these other studios that are just like, God, I want to make something else, please. Like, let us do something. We have this like treasure trove of IP dating back to like the start of gaming history, and we're sitting here making Call of Duty all the time. Please.
Well, the fucking new Warzone, they're about to drop a bunch of different skin packs, becoming Fortnite over there with the amount of fucking third-party characters.
That's true. It's crazy. Yeah, they just announced some cool ones though. I'll say they got some Diablo stuff in there. They got Lilith.
Spawn, Skeletor, Ash from Evil Dead.
Yeah, they're kind of I'll say they're kind of killing it with the skin choice, like skin packs and stuff they're choosing now. There's kind of some badass stuff. You got Snoop Dogg or Nicki Minaj if you want to roll that way too. Kate got the Nicki Minaj skin. She's been rocking that. It's crazy though. Like they got such a treasure trove on their hands now at Xbox. This is like a guaranteed moneymaker. It's just like people has this huge following, one of the top selling games, if not the top selling game every single year, right? And that's not even including the Warzone ongoing game, like, you know what I mean? And then Call of Duty Mobile is growing and is so huge as well. There's so much to this. It's just like an astronomical deal that like it's kind of really hard when you take a second and actually think about it. It's like this is a damn big thing. This is a different beast than ZeniMax Bethesda altogether, right? The amount of implementation and all this kind of stuff that's going to have to take place here is different because like ZeniMax Bethesda, they do have their ongoing games like Elder Scrolls Online and Fallout 76 and those kind of things, right? They do have some mobile stuff as well, but like a lot of their stuff is just traditional single player games as well. Like Activision has like this whole huge structure of how they produce their content. And Xbox is going to have to figure that out and let them do their thing, but also change the culture there at the same time, right? And then also find a way to free up some of those developers. So it's going to be an interesting challenge, but I think they're going to get it right. And I think Phil Spencer is going to make that a huge priority because they don't want to fumble. They don't want to have this $70 billion acquisition and then have a bunch of negativity and negative news start coming out like within a year or so after the closing, right?
Well, anything Blizzard does is going to be negative news.
That's true. But like when does the first acquisition come down after this though? Because you made a good point. Like this is like the ending of not being able to really close the deals on other things, right? Once this closes in a few weeks from now, are we going to see some stuff immediately? Because like Embracer Group is there's scenarios here right now with Embracer that you would hope that Microsoft could maybe jump in on, especially Crystal Dynamics, who just had layoffs, right? It's so shitty, like for me to think like Embracer Group got Eidos Montreal, Crystal Dynamics, and these teams for the price that they did, right? And to make these huge announcements about the new Tomb Raider and all these other things.
I don't think they're selling off Crystal Dynamics because that's one of their few like big AAA studios that they have. They have a lot of AA stuff, and that's one of their big AAA studios.
Gearbox is in trouble. Crystal's in trouble. Like there's some Embracer Group is, I think, at risk of just completely crumbling right now. And I mean, they're trying to like, oh, we have plans to like, do this and that, but like, I don't know, man. They bit off way more than they could chew too soon. And, they were talking a good game, doing a lot of positive things for a while. But now that they didn't get the funding that they thought they would from third-party saviors, right? They are all of a sudden now having to let people go, close studios, lay people off, multiple different teams. And there's smaller teams, too, that sometimes make the news about this with Embracer Group that don't really get a lot of the attention, But there's some big players within Embracer that might be available. And if I was Xbox, that would be the first place I look just because of necessity of those teams to be saved right now. Like, I don't know. Maybe you're right, Jasper. They don't get rid of Crystal D. But there was a lot of speculation early on that they were kind of holding them for Xbox anyway. You know what I mean?
I think that's just like a fun theory people had. I think that would be stupid for them to do that, but
it depends on what they sell them for, right? What if?
Well, yeah. So they're gonna buy them and then cut half the studio and team, and then be like, "Here, we want fucking $400 million for this now." It's like after you just cut the entire fucking department. It's like no.
Well, I think I think that was a forced situation because like if they were holding on to them, right? That's just speculation, right? Like this deal has taken a lot longer than I think a lot of people assumed, right? And then they also didn't get that additional funding. It put them in a tough spot, right? To maybe have to make some of those decisions that they didn't want to. But if you do take like Crystal Dynamics, who is still working supposedly on Perfect Dark, right? You take Eidos Montreal. Like I would say what I would propose, and I don't know what you guys think about this. If I was Microsoft, I would make a proposal to Embracer Group for multiple things, not just like one thing, right? Like take a chunk off of their hands, right?
Well, didn't Microsoft sign a partnership with them for like for them to work on a game? I forgot what it was. It wasn't perfect. I thought there was like an actual partnership that they like announced. There's like we're partnering with Crystal Dynamics from Embracer or whatever to like make this thing.
That's
I forgot what.
Well, originally that was Perfect Dark with Crystal Dynamics. They made a big post about that. Rumors are also have come out, leaks that Eidos Montreal is working on Fable.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
But that wasn't an official announcement, right? and maybe there's some truth to that. I'll just say that. But there is some interesting stuff going on there, like with the ties between those former Square studios and Xbox, right? For potentially both of those studios to be working on Xbox projects, it's kind of interesting, right?
They're also working with Amazon.
Yeah. What about Gearbox though? Like, would Randy step away and allow Microsoft to acquire them?
Hopefully, I mean, I think he's the speed bump as far as any acquisition or partnerships. Unfortunately,
Yeah. Red Monkey Butt actually makes a suggestion: hire the Crystal Dynamics devs that were laid off to the initiative.
yeah.
That's something they could do, right? Hey, all of a sudden we got all these job openings. Like, come on, I wonder if that's something that they would have reached out to, because like ultimately, like, developers are a huge asset.
I mean,
right
you
now.
see that all the time. Like when a studio shuts down or lays off, you always see all the other studios be like, "We're hiring. Check here if you just got laid off or whatever." So
Yeah. So do y'all think they would first go after Embracer Group stuff, or would they go to the East, like Phil originally hinted to, and go after either Square or Sega or some other smaller teams?
Oof.
if
You know,
Embracer's offering something,
I think they do a full on shopping spree kind of thing. If it's, I mean, while the iron is hot kind of thing. I was hoping for Sega, but I think it might wind up being Square.
Yeah, that new
And they'll just
partnership
keep,
ties are getting really interesting, especially when they're so down in the financials, right?
yeah. Sega, I think the partnership that they currently have with Microsoft is good enough, and both Sega and Microsoft are happy as it stands. A full on acquisition might not be a necessity, kind of the way Sony was with Square, but at least it's a little bit more beneficial or profitable for both sides. Um, but with Square, I think that's the one that they pick off first, and Sega is kept as a partner until things change. Maybe a year or two down the road. I I do think, and there's probably been talks to some extent with Embracer as far as Eidos Montreal and Crystal Dynamics. And I wouldn't be surprised even if they don't get hired, let's say at the initiative, because I think the initiative is still that weird studio where maybe they stick to their name, where they start stuff and hand off projects, kind of thing. But I would hope that a lot of those layoffs, if they can't be rehired, if an acquisition happens, or that takes too long of a time frame, hopefully they can find or land well somewhere within another Microsoft studio or something along those lines. But I think, I don't know if IO Interactive gets swept up right away. I don't know if Avalanche gets swept up right away. But they're definitely on the target list. Crystal D and Eidos need to be ASAP, so they don't wind up with a crackdown situation where the people working on it wind up going away, kind of thing. And then hopefully, what's the other one that's kind of looming out there? Oh, Certain Affinity. That's the other one
Yeah.
that hopefully they pick up.
I think that's a
All of it,
necessity pickup that they need to do, just to ensure they don't get picked up by somebody else, right? Like,
exactly. So I
go
think
in and
all of
cancel
those
Certain
are.
Infinity's NFT project.
well, I saw this post about NFTs the other day, and I was like, made my jaw drop. Like 90 something percent of like NFTs are worthless now, and like the
Yeah.
ones that were selling for like hundreds of thousands and millions and stuff are selling for like $5 to $10, and like there's only a handful that are worth a few thousand left. Like this whole NFT thing is just completely imploded, and it was all just like we thought, just this big dumbass
Trend.
idea that was like a way for rich people to try and make money real fast, right? Like I'm kind of glad that's over with, but like the NFT games, I wonder what is happening with some of those projects now, right? Is that like, are they going to continue forward with it? Like Certain Affinity can't possibly think that NFT game is like a good idea still. right? Like,
I still think there's one big giant that's going to bring NFTs back into the fold and be successful at it, unfortunately.
Yep.
I think you know
Rockstar,
which game I'm talking about. Yeah.
yeah, GTA.
I would not be surprised.
You
But
brought up an interesting point there in your last with Square. Like, I'm kind of wondering if like maybe they don't buy Square because they did. They're like they are getting that partnership together. Where it's like we don't need to buy them now because we just signed like a 5-year partnership agreement.
Yeah, but their values dropped. Like Microsoft's MO is to try and go after targets that have over. They see their value as over like what their, their asking prices or what it would take to acquire them, right? Like,
yeah,
and like Square is in a spot right now. They just had like they lost 30%, or I think recently, and they or have been on a downward kind of spiral. They have this newer formed relationship again with Microsoft, right? Now where they even at the Tokyo Game Show they had a little spiel about we're game based supporting Xbox and all this kind of stuff, right? Now Sega would be like, you can obviously tell how big the relationship there is between Sega. But if I was to look, the thing I would look at from Microsoft, right, is like which of the two are in a better position to acquire. That would be Square, right? Secondly, which of those two would be the most likely to potentially be bought by another company? That would also be Square, right? So
Yeah, but you could also say like why sign like a multi-year partnership and then just like buy them? That would be like a waste of money when you could sign that multi-year partnership, have that, and then just go buy another fucking big Japanese studio
because
that you don't have that partnership with,
Square
and then
ends
you get both the best of both worlds.
if Square ends up getting bought by Sony or something like that, then that doesn't matter anymore.
You got to honor the contract, bro.
But do they have a contract of a
No.
multi-year partnership? Like we
I don't
know
know.
that they're working together more now, and they are bringing games more to Xbox. But it's not.
you
I
can
don't
break
think.
the contract. You just got to pay fees.
Yeah.
And at that point, Sony would probably do it just to be spiteful
And like
because
we
they
know
do stuff like
Sega has that multi-year contract, right? They said that this whole cloud game initiative, super game initiative, whatever, right? And we've seen a lot of fruits of the labor. You also at Tokyo Game Show, more games coming to Game Pass, right, from Sega. But we haven't seen with this whole thing with Square is kind of new again, right? But it reminds me, you guys remember like a few years back when they had a similar announcement about Square Enix at an E3 show, right? They were like, "Yeah, we're excited. We're gonna be, supporting Final Fantasy and other games like on Xbox going forward and stuff like that." And then something happened. Then there became this bad relationship. No games stopped coming to Xbox for the most part, except for pick and choose some of them. But now all of a sudden, this whole talk is starting again, right? Now you could say it's like Xbox putting in the work and the effort to try and like get those situations in a better place, and obviously that's what they should do, and that could be all it is, right? But it also could be going back to original thoughts and agreements that they could have already had discussions on back at that time when they may have not ended up doing the Square Enix deal, and they ended up doing like as an ZeniMax Bethesda, then like an ABK, and now maybe like Square Enix like we want to get acquired by Microsoft, right? And that could be opening them up now to like be more open to this relationship, trying to grow the fan base more on Xbox, and all of a sudden you have an interest in Xbox again, right? So it's like there's a lot of thoughts there. I think that they know that it's better for them if there's interest from more than one party, because if they do get offered to Microsoft, or if Microsoft does make a bid for Square, part of the whole system is they got to go around and get offers from other companies. So at that point, it's a who makes the best offer, right? And I would believe it would be between Microsoft and Sony. At that point, would be the two big players there. Like I don't know another player that would pay more for Square than either Microsoft or Sony. So unless you got maybe Apple,
Nintendo steps in the game.
Apple,
maybe?
Tencent, Tencent doesn't. Do they own any of these other publishers outright?
I think they just own shares in a lot of people.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
have like 49%.
Yeah.
Or whatever, right? So It's gonna be interesting,
Man, I
man.
really don't want Square. They fucking have nothing to offer. They have a dead franchise called Final Fantasy. It's like, who cares about that?
Man, they
They
make
got so many LDs trying to. They got so many. They got Square. They have Dragon Quest. They have the old.
Oh yeah, the
Superman
Dragon Quest
stuff.
game that's coming out that they have not marketed whatsoever. That comes out next week. Yay!
That's one of many. But that's the thing that you might not be excited for it, but there is an entire country that is can't wait for the next Dragon Quest, and that's the thing.
Everyone says
Here-
they love Final Fantasy, but it sells 3 million copies. Oh no!
well, Final Fantasy fans didn't necessarily like this last Final Fantasy game. I think Final Fantasy Rebirth is going to sell a lot more than Final Fantasy 16.
Yeah.
Right, because it's more of what Final Fantasy fans are looking for. Like, people didn't want an action game with RPG elements. People wanted an actual Final Fantasy RPG, right? And that's what we're getting with Rebirth. You know, again, only 3-month exclusivity on that game as well. This is very interesting. So, but who knows? Whether it's Square, whether it's Sega, whether it's a group of developers from Embracer Group, and Pong actually was in the chat a little while ago, and he brought up the fact that Crystal Dynamics, the most of the layoffs are from the marketing team, right? So if you were, that wouldn't really necessarily hinder you from making an acquisition of them, because that would be kind of more of a redundancy as far as staffing goes.
I just saw Crystal Dynamics put out a job posting today on Indeed. They have they're hiring for a position. It's like $220,000 to $300,000 salary. It's
Really?
like, oh, okay, yeah.
Nice. So, hey, that's a good job.
Yeah.
Did you apply?
Yeah, I'm a fucking game director now.
And creative director Jasper.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's done deal, guys. Though, like you were saying something earlier about pony tears, Fuzzy. You were seeing a lot of that going around.
Well, it was funny on Boom Show earlier. Somebody said that their PC is liquid cooled by pony tears. So I thought that was pretty funny.
Well, you got some corrosion in your loop there. That's fucking salty.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, I've seen takes today that just it puts me in a stupor, because for a company that's making a $70 billion acquisition, how are they ceasing to exist by 2027? Like, what kind of logic is even in that? I don't know.
Yeah, I think
But
that's a transcript from Phil talking to the answering questions. Like, you can have a lot of hypotheticals that you could say, yeah, they could do this or could do that, right? Like, and then you got to understand the case that Phil's trying to make there is to put Microsoft in a weaker position, right? And make it seem necessary for them need to make this acquisition to the people he was answering the questions to. Like, context is a very important thing, right? It's not like he was answering questions from the New York Times, or something like that. Like, hey guys, you know what? If we don't hit 50 million subscribers by this year, we're fucked. It was a nice run, but like, it's just all it is. We gave it a try. This is a whole Game Pass thing. Just ain't working out for us. Instead, it's actually, you see more evidence that what a success it's actually been. It's not necessarily reached their internal goals, which that's also very different than not being successful, right? Like, lots of companies have internal goals that they necessarily either do reach or don't reach, but that doesn't necessarily make you a failure as a company. That just means you're not necessarily where you had aspired to be by a certain time. And you can definitely
get the bonus at the end of the year,
right? And they haven't, right? That was the thing; they haven't gotten some of their bonus thresholds, and that was a big part of that. But also a lot of things factored into that. Another part of the leaks was the email that Phil wrote to Matt Booty about the disaster of 2022 and how we can't have the situation and all that kind of stuff. And for me, it's them realizing about and being self-aware about what's caused and put them in the certain situations that they are. But now you see things turning around, obviously, with this year that 2023 has been absolutely incredible. And do we see this train stopping anytime soon? 2024 looks absolutely fucking incredible as well, right? So where does the momentum stop? You add ABK to that now as well? Like, this is now not a hypothetical situation. ABK will be added to the fold of Game Pass with everything else. And the leaks, as good as it looked within the leaks as far as the pipeline goes, that was only ZeniMax Bethesda. And that was what we knew about back in 2020 before they made the acquisition. ZeniMax Bethesda can have a lot of other projects in the works now as well that we don't even know about. Plus, you also have all of the original Xbox game studios. Plus, you also have all the other acquisitions they've made. And now you add on top of that ABK to the mix. And it's like, what the hell? Like, how? This is biggest pipeline
we
of
didn't
content
talk about
ever.
this,
Like, it's crazy.
but I was looking back at those leaks today. The Activision game, or not the Activision, the Bethesda game leak that we got yesterday or whatever, or Monday, whatever the hell.
Yeah.
They showed that Elder Scrolls 6 was projected to make $1 billion.
Yeah.
That and the next highest one was Starfield with 600 million, and then Project Kestrel they estimated was 280 million was the launch. So that's kind of making me wondering the scale of that game and what that could be. The next one below that was Indiana Jones at like 220 million.
So bigger than Indiana Jones.
Yeah, but smaller than Starfield.
I think Kestrel is going to be a Starfield like MMO. Or some kind of MMO. I think it's ZeniMax Online's game.
Yeah, but it's like if it was a Starfield MMO, you would kind of expect it to be closer to that 600 million, maybe that Starfield launched with. But I guess if it's a free-to-play game, then maybe that's just based off microtransactions. I don't know.
Or it could be a Star Wars game, the Kessel Run.
The interesting, the interesting thing, the interesting there though thing is Psycho. Like, there's another game on that list that says licensed game, right? So I think if that game was a licensed game, it would probably say licensed game and not just Project Kestrel.
Oh, I know.
However, it could be dependent on what the team's project name is for it, or maybe they hadn't decided a project name for the licensed game yet. Who knows? But the interesting thing was looking at the list of the ZeniMax Bethesda games was the only other games that used the word expansion afterwards for the yearly content was Elder Scrolls Online, right? So every year you had Elder Scrolls Online expansion, except for Project Kestrel. You had expansion for that a year after, right? And expansions are usually going to be for like the Starfield one said DLC, right? It's so you have a different terminology there. Leads me to think that that's ZeniMax Online's game, using the term expansion, because that's what those live service games do. Like that, it's like they release the expansions yearly.
Expands. Exactly. And that's the thing. Like, and you guys were mentioning with the ABK deal, no one's taken in consideration that if they go on a more a longer development run with Call of Duty, we should be.
Yeah.
Oh, because my YouTube was just like spinning.
Buffering.
I didn't.
Yeah, we could.
So
hold on. Yeah. We just got an error. Hold on. Are we good, guys? Maybe it.
Chat, hit 1 if we're live.
I see.
Like we're still live.
Yeah, I see that. It's still connected.
I only see ones from chat. Chat, hit 1. Put 1 in the chat if you.
But there's a delay, so.
Yeah. I mean, we're probably good. It seems like it's up.
Okay.
All right. Anyways, so if we're good, then so if with ABK, Activision, they have High Moon, they have Raven Studios, they got a lot of other studios that would like to possibly people that could stay on because they like what they're doing, and others could be like, you know what, I would like to do something else, and that's the thing with Xbox, they can't give the freedom. They can give them, hey, if this is your pitch for a game and look at Pentiment. They were very passionate. Look at Grounded. Xbox gives developers, and look at John Johannes at Tango Gameworks. They let him do Hi-Fi Rush, and that is a success. So, and same thing with Pentiment and Grounded. All 3 of those games are successes in their own metric. And when you look at these new studios that are coming on, they've been only doing Call of Duty, and you damn well know there's people in those studios that have like, you know what, I have a great idea for a game, and they could pitch that game, and it could be the next best thing. We don't know because Activision never gave them the freedom to do that because they got to pump out and make that money for Call of Duty. And then now you see these studios taking these chances. Boom, they get the next best thing, and then Xbox funds their studio, and now, you know, then it could be a splinter studio of Raven Software or High Moon or Beatnox and Toys for Bob, whatever they want. And that's the beauty of the organic growth that happens within Microsoft that no one fucking talks about. Just because they acquire these big publishers, they let these teams grow. Look at freaking, Ninja Theory. They built them a brand new state-of-the-art mocap studio. Obsidian, they built them a second location. They let these studios just blossom, and that's the organic growth. Yeah, they might acquire them, but what they do from there on is all on Microsoft.
Yeah.
Just because they acquired like a Bethesda, guess what? If somebody has a great idea, they could blossom into something else. I mean, and no one looks at that. Everyone just is blindsided. It's like, oh, Microsoft buttered fucking publisher. We have to fucking pitchfork this. This is bad for gaming. No, it's bad for gaming if somebody else picks up Activision, let's say like an Amazon or an Apple, and the only way you can play that game is on their platform only, and now PlayStation, Xbox, and PC can't touch Call of Duty. Yeah, what do you think is worse off, Xbox
I will
or Microsoft?
say to Amazon's spot though, like they are starting to put games on multiple platforms, right? So like,
yeah, but they don't have a large platform. They don't have a large publisher like a Activision. If they had ABK, that wouldn't be the case. They'd be like, okay,
you think they force
Luna,
people to only play on Luna? I don't think so. I think
it could. If
maybe
you want to grow your platform, if you want to play Call of Duty, it's right here.
Yeah, I was
They
worried
don't-
about
they don't
that
have
at
the backing.
first, but like when they kind of talked about like the Tomb Raider publishing deal and other games and stuff that they like are bringing multiple places.
Yeah,
There was also they announced another game that was coming that they're publishing that's going multiple places as well.
They
They're
start off as third party, and
Mhm.
then once they start get a base going, then they can go, hey, the next best thing. This is kind of exclusive to Luna.
Yeah, we'll see.
There's nothing to stop them to do that.
If you make a game exclusive to cloud, your game's dead off the rip.
Yeah, I think they're learning. I think they learned that. Like, I mean, they had some success with some of those other games that they did on PC.
Yeah, but you can get those on Steam.
Yeah, so it's not even exclusive to their ecosystem, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I we'll see what Amazon turns into. I think they're learning the gaming industry right now, like as far as that side. I would be much more concerned with Apple, right, than I think I would with Amazon right now. But like, I would much rather Microsoft than either of those companies acquire a gaming developer. Alvin hit us earlier with a $2 super chat and said, Iron Galaxy also to maintain Killer Instinct as a possible acquisition target. That's a really good thought there because they've been looking for that team, right? And now that Iron Galaxy is there supporting it again, what else does Iron Galaxy have going on now? We know that they're big brawler, was it Multiverses or no? What's their game called? Brawlhalla or I fucking can't.
No, it's not
Rumbleverse.
Brawlhalla. It's Rumbleverse. They shut that down.
Rumbleverse, yeah, thank you.
But they're known to be a port studio, and does Microsoft need a port studio?
Well, they've proven that they can do their own game or work on.
Have they proven that?
Well, I'll say this about Rumbleverse, right? I thought the whole game was a dumbass idea to begin with, but it did play well and it looked good. Like they've took over for Double Helix for Killer Instinct and turned it into a much better game than it was originally, even. And they have a history of being able to do quality content. I don't necessarily think what's the fucking game's name again? Rumbleverse.
Yeah.
I don't think that game's necessarily shortcomings. It was like the quality of it. I just think it's like a saturated market with free to play games, and it was like just a whatever is a weird idea of a kind of game to make in that space. Like,
Yeah.
So it's like Ubisoft failed with some other games in that space too, but they like play okay. It's just like, why play them, right?
Yeah.
So if you had Iron Galaxy and put them on projects like, okay, you're the Killer Instinct team, which they've done before. They've acquired teams, and it's like, okay, you're the team that's behind this franchise. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like 343, and it ruins Halo.
Well, but also they've done that with they did it originally with Black Tusk, and then turned them into Coalition for Gears, right? And other studios as well. So like, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens there. I think that they're in an interesting place to be able to they have lots of options open to them. Like the space that the video game market's in right now, I think Microsoft has a plethora of options, right? It's about which ones are going to make the most sense for them. I would love to see a 2023 leaked list of acquisition targets and projected values. Because
like, I don't know if you still have that, but that one list that came out like, I don't know, like
there's a couple
3 or
years
4 months ago,
yeah,
where it showed like their proposed targets that they had before they bought Activision. Like, it came out in the core documents, like all the studios they were looking at. Like, that would be interesting to pull back up and.
Yeah, we should do that on another stream or something. Yeah, they had a lot of ambitions and a lot of different targets at the time, right? And different reasons why different ones made sense. You know, there's a lot of studios on there. You know, there was like Asobo was on there. I think you had I think Certain Affinity was on there. I think that I don't know if Iron Galaxy was on there. I think Larian was on there.
Yeah.
And there's, I think Paradox Interactive was on the list, which could still be up for play as well.
Well, I think that they've signed that partnership, so I think that might be kind of out the window now.
Yeah.
Again, because like, why sign that partnership when you're just gonna buy them?
See, I kind of look at those partnership deals as like almost like an inclination of like maybe they would be more likely to go after an acquisition because you've been paying yourself at that point. Yeah, you've just been paying the piper ahead of time at that point, you know. Like,
but that's almost like double charging for an acquisition, also.
No, because you're giving them the money, then you acquire them, so it's like back. You're not losing any money. Like their profit and revenue they made from your contract will be acquired back in part of your company, right? So it's not really a lost asset there. You're actually, it's like, okay, you made payments to yourself ahead of time without, you know what I mean?
It's almost like a try before you buy.
Yeah. Like, let's say Microsoft just gave, like, Square Enix.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. It's just, I feel like it's like you're just like paying double, like, over the course of like 10 years instead of just buying them right up front for like half that.
Yeah, but they're in a situation the last 2 years, the last almost 2 years now, where they couldn't have made the acquisitions, right? Like, so what do you do in the meantime? You do all these partnership deals, right? Lock them up with content in the meantime, and then in the future,
and that's where I'm just
when
like, you could just go buy someone else because you know you have that partnership, so that way you get 2 different studios that you can, or publishers that you're guaranteed to have everyone's game. Like,
but Xbox has always had bad luck with that in the past, where like and it I know I keep bringing it up, but like Crackdown, they lost 2 teams that they had working on the background stuff. Like one of them I think was acquired by Amazon, and I forget what happened to the other one. But those teams, once those teams were acquired by like Amazon and somebody else, they were like, nope, we don't care what other work they were doing. We're breaking the contract, so here's your money back. So I think it's almost like you set it in stone, and if there is that chance that somebody could, beat you to the punch, you already know what they're working on, what they work like, what their quality of production is, and then you could, say, all right, here's the table offer. Is this,
yeah, I just don't think Microsoft cares if they lose. Like, if they lose Paradox, is like that partnership. If someone comes in and buys Paradox, like, sure, that sucks for Microsoft, but like at the same time, it's like they already know they have 40 fucking plus studios now. It's like, well, let's just get someone else.
Yeah, I guess it depends. If it's an area that you don't have a studio, comfortable with doing that right now, it might be a bigger loss. Like that whole cloud tech stuff for Crackdown really kind of kicked them in the pants, kind of thing. So it's one of those, I think, mistakes that Phil looks at, not locking them down or making it a little bit more solidified of a deal. That I don't think they'll make that mistake. But then again, it's like, well, we like the work that we're seeing from them. They look like a good fit for a niche that we need as far as something for whether it's Game Pass or a genre that we don't cover. I think that's when they pounce and say, you know what, let's bring them under the fold because we're happy with what we see, and it's better to bring them under the fold than lose them to someone else, type of thing.
Yeah. And like they've been hamstrung, so I think the last 2 years it's like they've been doing what they can do to make those deals. And like I don't like it, outside of you can say that they're partners with every publisher. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, they've signed exclusive partnerships with Paradox, 8-Bit, and Sega.
for Game Pass deals, like multiple Game Pass game deals and stuff like that, right? But that's not a long-term commitment for like decades or over 10-year plan.
No, they signed certain
like
games.
That. Yeah. So I don't know. It's interesting to think about what they could do, but we'll see. I think the answer is going to come sooner than we think. I don't think we're going to have like a year or two wait before we get the first other, at least small acquisition announcement.
6 months?
I think around 6 months maybe is about fair. Right? Maybe within,
I think before the end of the year.
Before you think that soon, like right after it's done, just like, okay, pull the trigger.
As soon as the ink is dry, it's like I think we get like a either a blog post or a social media post. Welcome, this smaller studio to the family. Welcome to Xbox Studios,
Right.
or something like that. Like I think Certain Affinity is one of those that we see before the year's out.
Yeah.
And hopefully Crystal D as well.
The part of me is like yes to that, but at the same time, like, do the investors want to wait and see how the Activision deal played off for them before they sign off on another deal for like the Xbox side, or do they like maybe we should invest in AI for Microsoft as a whole instead of just focusing on the Xbox investment?
Well, they from what I understand, they already have invested, I think it was like 10 billion in AI, and it's doing well for them. And I'm pretty sure like it's not like the 90 plus billion that they're sitting on is all for Xbox, but they do have, probably a certain percentage. So like I would say from the conversations we've seen from Phil and Amy Hood and things like that, if it's under, was it 30 billion? It's an easy, sign off
It's
kind of
chump
thing.
change.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say it's jump change, but in their case, it is, and it's an easy sign off. I don't think Phil has to really, go through the board if it's under 30 billion. If
Yeah.
it's over 30 billion, that's when it's like, okay, we got to sit down, look at the numbers, and make it work. But like if after this deal is finished and they want to invest another 50 billion into it, there's still 40
Yeah,
billion.
I was just
offers
saying, like, I
coming.
wonder if they maybe want to invest more in the Microsoft side of things instead of just focus straight on the Xbox at that point, just to see just to see how Activision plays off for them before they like,
Yeah.
before we put another 70 billion on the Xbox side, let's try to bolster Microsoft as another
I
department.
think we can look at comments where like Phil's pretty much said he has the green light for within certain amounts, and also when he was interviewed actually on like at the MSNBC or something, like he's like, yeah, we're not done. We're looking to move into the East more. We're keeping our eyes open to make acquisitions. Still, ABK is not the end of it or whatever. But like I think they haven't been doing it yet because they've been hamstrung with this deal and didn't want any kind of wrinkles to show up with the closing of ABK, because that's much more important to the bigger picture, right? So if you like, we're like, oh, let's go get Crystal Dynamics, as amazing as it's going to be, right? If they do that and it ends up somehow causing them not to get ABK, it would be a fucking disaster, right? And it's the same with all these other publishers or other development studios that they may have had their eyes on, maybe even including Square Enix, right? So in the time being, they're like, what do we do? We got to figure this out, you know. And we saw a lot of these Game Pass deals, multiple game deals, with different publishers. You saw this strengthening of the relationship with Sega, now a strengthening of the relationship with Square Enix. You've seen a strengthening of the relationship with Capcom, all in the East.
Yeah,
right?
I was just trying to think of like the bigger picture, like maybe Microsoft's been holding out on other things too because of this. Like maybe they've been one who invests in, like, buy some cloud partners.
Another
and
acquisition
then-
like somewhere else.
yeah.
Right? Yeah. I think that we're not going to see another one that's going to get heavily scrutiny in the next year or two. I think the next heavy scrutiny one will probably be a little distance out, right? Because imagine like Jason Schreier and like the Dan Stapletons of the world, and like who else like that hates consolidation? Colin Moriarty's, you know, the Dreamcast guys, like all these people, right? Waking up like 2 days after ABK finally got closed, and like Xbox by Sega or Xbox by Square Enix, they will literally shit themselves and like have a conniption. There will be like such a rage, I think, from that group of people that think that way, you know, that they're probably going to let that settle a little bit. But if it's like a, you know, Crystal Dynamics, they're going to be like, okay, you know, they don't care about that. It makes sense, you know. So I'm using obviously Microsoft doesn't give a shit about those people, right? But I'm using those people as like an example of like the attention of a large acquisition could have on them immediately after closing a $70 billion deal, right? It's gonna be interesting though. It's done. It's over. It's fucking over. Oh my gosh, what a ride! 20 months of ABK coverage. What's gonna happen? What's this? What's that? It's been over 3 different times, we felt like, and then somehow the shit got pushed or extended out and stuff. But like,
that's why I'll celebrate in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You all can have your victory lap now. I'm going to celebrate in 2 weeks when it's actually official.
this shit's done and over with. They are closing ABK, part of Xbox, games coming to Xbox, all this stuff. Amazing. Anyway, let's move on to a little bit of the leak stuff that we got earlier in the week. I know we've already kind of dabbled into that with part of this conversation. But I do have a question for you guys about the discless Xbox Series X and the controller.
Oh, you said it right this time.
Instead of dickless? Yeah.
Yeah.
The dickless Xbox Series X. Do y'all feel like that is a good move if that's what they actually release next year?
Absolutely.
I was begging for it for the regular Series X.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I'm surprised there wasn't one sooner, kind of thing. But I said this before this generation started. Like I would be surprised if by holiday 2024 there's still as much physical media as far as new games are concerned for console going forward. Like we lost the battle on physical media almost a
Years
decade ago.
Yeah.
So I could care less about physical media. I know that's going to probably rub some people the wrong way, but I can't wait until it goes away completely. Like it's no use. You have a disc that doesn't contain the whole game in a lot of cases. It's just basically an unlock key or whatever for, the digital rights anyway. So most stuff is online always, or, has to check in. So the whole physical media thing for game preservation, that went away. That battle was lost as soon as like digital stores are really a thing, and that was like early on in the beginning of last gen. So
And game preservation, if you want game preservation, your PC is your option.
Yeah.
Like
emulators, whatnot. Yeah, that's the only option. So the discless one, yeah, that makes total sense. The only thing I would push back on is the pricing. Although, yeah, at least it didn't go up in price, but the fact that it's the same price as the current Series X, and yeah, you get improved Wi-Fi. Yes, you get more, internal storage, but come on, $50 off at least. Come on. That
Yeah.
it should have been like 450, I think. But
And
or
we've kind of seen over the last like few years, especially that. I'm sure Microsoft also has the numbers for like physical and digital sales. Like we've seen that even like certain publishers, they don't even print physical media anymore. They just give you straight, put it on digital front, and then like you can buy it this way. And then they may have a limited run of a physical game. Like we've slowly seen more of that. And Brazil, like last year, shut down fucking disc
They
manufacturing.
shut down dicks manufacturing. There's gonna be no more dicks in Brazil, everybody. Brazil's home of the dickless. Home of the dickless. If you can't buy a dick there, that's for damn sure in Brazil.
I'm seeing that a lot with games working at GameStop. We are seeing less and less physical, and then it's like the initial run is all they're going to send, and that's it. So if they only send 5 games, that's only 5 games in circulation.
I noticed that about GameStop like 15 years ago. They started pissing me off back in like the 360 era because it was like you couldn't, at some point, you couldn't just walk into a fucking GameStop and say, I want to buy that game, and they'll give you a copy and you buy it. It was like
the only way to guarantee was like you had to
if
pre-order.
You had to pre-order it, right?
Yeah.
And it was like they never had any fucking extra copies in it. So I just stopped going to GameStop to look for games because I know that they didn't have like a collection of games.
You go 5 feet across the street because there's always a Walmart next to a GameStop. You're like, I'll just go pick up a Walmart.
Yeah, Walmart was more than likely to have the game than GameStop was, right? So you go to GameStop and it's like, hey, do you have NBA 2K 24? And they're like, no. And I'm like, this shit came out last week. How do you not fucking have it? Like, and they're like, well, did you pre-order it? And I'm like, no.
No, because they send 1 copy for Xbox, and then they'll send 50 copies for PlayStation. Because that's what it is. Because people are more than likely going to use Game Pass for the games, so they're not buying a lot of physical media anymore. So they're buying digital on Xbox more than any other console. So physical media is being less and less, and then when PS5 console comes out, when it's digital only with a disc drive option, you're gonna see even less and less of that. And the thing with PlayStation, the only way you can get digital is through the PlayStation Store. You know, it's not GameStop. It's people not buying these games physically that are causing. They're seeing the manufacturers are saying, hey, we can make a fuck ton of money by doing it digitally than over physically. I'll say push it.
I there's to an extent though, I will put some blame on GameStop for the implementation of the system that they put in place a long time ago, to where they stopped carrying extra copies of games to make it a place where you can go and shop for games and buy games. It became more of a pre-order store. And then that's all it was, right? So
then pre-order your game.
But if they at the time, like I'm talking about years ago, right? The situation is what it is now. If the situation back then was like, hey, we're always going to have games available for people, maybe more people would have gotten used to still keep going to GameStop to just pick out a game. Like I still will walk into a GameStop sometimes and kind of look around.
Just to smell.
Yeah, it's like I like being in a game store, and like that whole feeling of shopping and like looking at game boxes and picking stuff up and kind of taking it and like, oh, what's this game? Now they have some of that, but mostly with used stuff, right? But if you go there and like, oh yeah, I remember seeing that game. I think I'm gonna buy it physically because I'm kind of interested in it. I'm unsure if I want to keep it forever or whatever, so that way I can trade it in if I don't like it or whatever like that. You go there and it's like, yeah, my friend was telling me about this game. I want to check it out. Yeah, we don't have any. Where do I go? This is the fucking GameStop, right?
But we don't have any, but you can sign up now for a 5% off coupon with our pro membership.
Did you pre-order
and if you do that, then you can get the Game Informer magazine.
Yeah, did you pre-order it? I'm like, no, I didn't pre-order it because I just told you I just found out about this game. It's like, well, you got to pre-order. Like, well, okay, great. Like, how about you order more copies from the manufacturers without having to have pre-orders for it, and then you have games on hand. which is the same with every other kind of store that exists pretty much. Like you go into, that's just the way it works. Like with distribution, like you go into stores, they have extra things, right? It's not like, could you imagine like going to,
Yeah, we got a Funko Pop of your favorite character.
could you imagine you needed to go buy like a fucking like a fan for your bedroom, you know, and you go to Walmart and you're like, hey, where's the fucking fans? They're like, did you pre-order one? We just got the new model of the Rotator Max 5000 out, and it's great, but all we have is the pre-orders, but there's a bunch of used ones over there if you want to use fan. I'm like, I don't know whose fucking house that fan's been in. I want a fucking new fan. You ain't got any new fans? Like, I just saw an ad for a new fan. Well, you have to pre-order that fan. That would be such horseshit. This is the way the rest of the fucking world works. Like, you go to Walmart.
You got an old iPhone you want to trade in while you're at it?
You go to stores like and like movies and shit like that. No, I understand collector's editions and sometimes like that you got to pre-order, right? But like,
Please, sir, just give us your business. We really need it.
To not have to be a store that specializes in something and not have extra copies of the newest stuff that's awesome for people to buy is just a horrible mistake that they made a long time ago, and it trained consumers not to even go to the store to do that. Right? I don't go there anymore. Like I tried even twice this generation now to go there and actually buy a game physically because I didn't want to actually buy it digitally because I wasn't sure if I was gonna like it or not. Right? So and guess what? They didn't have it. So what do? I go to GameStop and I'm like, I want to buy with my trade-in credit for or whatever I had my credit for stuff that I had. I want to get fucking Xbox currency. Right? I want to get PlayStation currency. Right? And you buy the gift card and you buy your game digital. That's what I've been doing now if I ever go to GameStop. And they hate it. They fucking hate it. Yeah, they look at you like, you're not going to buy one of my games? You're going to get a code for Xbox store, you motherfucker? You know, it's like, well, hey, enjoy my old useless shit. I'm going to get this digital code and I'm going to own this game forever, motherfucker.
That's
what
because
you gonna do about it?
Yeah, I'm not going to say.
There's Psychonauts playing this episode in the store.
Yeah.
No, I will just say that you get reprimanded if you don't have a quota met.
Right. Yeah, I understand. I understand that. You know, I get it. You know, I used to work at a place
Jasper does it.
I used to work at a place called Service Merchandise back in the day, and I had to sell the warranties. You know what I mean, on the electronics. I was in the electronics department, and you got to sell I forget what they call them. Some kind of fucking warranty, scratch, fucking return it, whatever. Like it's all businesses have that kind of stuff, right? But like that's part of
PSP, product protect or product service protection or something.
Yeah. It is what it is. Yeah. So it's anyway. We got on a tangent about GameStop. But yeah, diskless. Or as Jasper says, if you live in Brazil, dickless.
I made fun of you for saying that on the last episode, and then I fucking did it this episode.
I don't even remember saying that. Did I say dickless?
Yeah, I think it was on PM and the PM last night. You went to say, we're going to talk about the new diskless Xbox, and then I think I just cut my head.
Yeah. By the way, I still love GameStop. I'm just saying. I just think some of the stuff.
I haven't been in one in 10 years.
No, I've went in one like a couple weeks
PS5
ago.
there.
I walked in and I was like, because like I got my hair cut and there's a GameStop like right next to it, and I walked and I was like, I'm gonna see what's here. And I'm like, what the fuck am I doing in here? And I walk right It's like, oh, this was an interesting experiment. I don't have any reason to actually be in here now because they don't have any fucking games.
The last time I was in a GameStop, I picked up the Scorpio Xbox.
Yeah. I did buy my PS5 at that GameStop.
Yeah.
So there's that. And I was forced to buy a bundle at the GameStop. So that was great. But it is what it is. So any other big things? Like I want to get Psycho did out of all the leaked stuff. What was because this was the biggest leak in Xbox history, and just so you guys know, like we're not going deep diving in all the leaks because we've already done it a couple times. We had a special edition on Tuesday, where we really deep dove on the league. So also Pong and I talked a lot about it yesterday. But like I do want to know like what from you, Psycho, what's your biggest takeaway from the Xbox leaks that we got?
How much of the games that were kind of leaked out, a lot of project names, seeing that possibly Elder Scrolls 6 is coming, what is it, 25? 2025, I think?
26.
26.
or later.
So in 3 years, we possibly can get next Elder Scrolls. So that was a very exciting. And then it was obvious it was exclusive to Xbox, so that was a bonus. I don't know. There's quite a bit that there's just things that we don't know yet because of the project names, what they're gonna be. So, I think we'll finally get some announcements. Maybe this next E3, we'll get some of that stuff.
Yeah, right on, man. What about you, Jasper?
Biggest takeaways? I mean, you had the games. That's probably like the most like selfish thing I care about, I guess. For me, like Bethesda games.
Yeah.
But like biggest thing for I guess general consumer, I guess would just be the new consoles. Like it's a new way in for new people.
Right on. What about you, Fuzz? Biggest takeaway?
Controller with pants. That's all I'm
Controller
saying.
with
Ugly.
No, I'm
pants.
just kidding.
Ugly
Yeah.
controller.
No, it's for me, an Elite 3 is what I'm looking forward to. The haptic feedback, like I've had this conversation before, and I don't I don't think people understand the Elite already had haptic feedback on the triggers. It's not really rumble, it's haptic because it is different compared to like a standard controller. But it'd be cool to see what how they go about the haptic stuff with the new controllers. And to my understanding, it's going to be replaceable thumbsticks or modular thumbsticks or something like that. So
Yeah, I'm wondering what that means. Like, if it, like, are you gonna have to like do stuff to take it out, or is it gonna be like PlayStation's Pro where you can just like kind of slide them in and out? Like, what does that actually
good,
mean for Xbox?
good question. I'm assuming only because they do have like the replaceable parts for the current controllers and things like
Yeah.
that. It's probably that you're going to have to get like a toolkit, take it apart, and then like pop in the new ones or something like that. But at least they're focused on updating the hardware, refreshing it. Be worthwhile. This will be the time to go back to GameStop, trade in your old hardware, get the new hardware, kind of thing. But yeah, the new controller is probably the biggest thing. The games I already knew were kind of coming, and we got a few more code names, so the plate's already full with games as is. So it'll be interesting to see what some of these wind up being. But glad to see that Bethesda has a pretty stout roadmap as far as what they're doing. And I don't really think they focus much on like a lot of the other Xbox Studio stuff. And we already know that there's been some stuff talked about with ABK's first party stuff. So controller, the new Xbox, I don't know if I would get it. Probably consider trading in my current one, but yeah, the controller is the main thing. Need that Elite 3 like ASAP kind of thing.
Yeah.
The other big thing was the talks about the next gen console, but
Yeah.
2028.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, a lot of that stuff's so far off that it's like there's not a lot. I mean, it's cool to see the thought process that Xbox has now, right? Because you see the way that, or at least 16 months ago that they had, right? You see their thought process of where they saw themselves going
Well,
or
it's
wanted
interesting
to achieve,
seeing that
right?
that roadmap because you saw where they're already planning the next
Yeah.
Xbox. Like,
What their mindset was
Yeah.
at the time of that, right? I just know that like Xbox has always been very fluid as a company, and their plans have consistently kind of shifted time and time again, depending on what's going on in the industry, what other moves they make, feedback or like other things. And like what we saw 16 months ago is inherently going to be different than what that same proposal might look like today. And then in 7 years or whatever, when we actually hit that 2030, right, end goal that they had to reach by 2030, what is the ideas behind getting there going to look like by that time, right? Like it's gonna change, very fluid and dynamic, like Xbox always does, and everything we see now could be completely different or have different technology behind it, different deals in place, different philosophies. It also depends on who's in charge of things at the time. If hopefully Phil Spencer's still in charge by then, right? Hopefully Satya Nadella is still CEO of Microsoft by then, as well. But you know, leadership teams change, and when those things happen, that's when you have the most changes usually, right? So like, we'll see what happens, but it's a long time from now. It's a long time from now, so it's not like any kind of like, this is what's gonna happen, right? But it is interesting to see that this is where they think things are going, right? This is where they see it, and there's going to be things in there that happen, you know? So, especially the games. The games is the more concrete thing than anything else, because you can already know that those games have already been greenlit and funded and stuff like that probably at the time, right? So, those are going to be the interesting things, unless some of them got canceled, but there's no reason to believe any of that has happened, right? So, anyway, Tokyo Game Show.
What are your
Yeah, go
on
ahead, Fuzz.
percentage of if there's a mid-gen refresh with a power bump? Like you said, plans can change. Do you think part of the change might be the not really the PS5 Pro competitor, but like something along those lines? Like we saw Wi-Fi was improved. Do you think there's any other chip improvement other than just efficiency stuff?
For me, I look at it as when they made these plans, was there concrete evidence for them to think that PS5 was going to have a PS5 Pro, right? Or did they think that the PS5 was going to have a more traditional, just a slim model, and they were going to do a traditional generation? But the rumors coming out about a PS5 Pro inherently may change some decisions that they may have internally as well, right? So the whole diskless Series X thing may be changed from this point as well. We don't know. Like different things that happen within the industry can always influence decisions and change your roadmap and change your way of thinking about what you think you need to do for competition in the space. So inherently, I think it's dependent on a lot of factors, and I don't know what's going to happen. But I think the roadmap that we saw was their plans, or what they thought was the best plan going forward. But is that the same today as it was then, or will it be the same? What if they do release the PS5 Pro, and the PS5 Pro has a lot of multi-platform games that are outperforming the Xboxes, and it's costing them console sales, which we obviously know is important now due to leaked emails to Satya Nadella, and also to where they want to be in the space. They want to sell more devices. They want to keep that as a core part of the ecosystem. So if that is a hindrance to them actually being successful in the console space, or at least on the same path that they are now, then that could be a change of philosophy with what they want to do. And business wise, it's just always open ended, and I would never say no to anything, right? You got to do what you got to do. And if I was Xbox, I wouldn't want to be outpowered by the competition, right?
I would say that I think Xbox probably knew that the PlayStation Pro was coming out. We also know that Phil said in court that they had no plans for a Pro model. And if they do a Pro model now, that's going to take a couple years probably to even get that ball rolling. And at that point, would you just want to focus on next gen? Because they would have to reskew the entire like manufacturing pipeline
They
just to get
could
that
potentially move that up also, right? So like, you know, that's another thought too, Jasper. They could move up the next generation as well. Like that's what Pong was thinking they should do. But
part of me saying yes on that, but according to that leak, like if they're waiting for was it Navi 5 or 6 or whatever the hell it was, like that's all dependent on AMD. Like, and it's dependent on their timeline. Unless if they choose to go with someone else. And
right, and they did wait this last generation for AMD as
Yeah.
well, right? So like, you're right about that. The just question is like, what is at the time going to make the most sense? And if they feel like they need to compete, then they will. If they don't feel like they need to compete, then they won't. Right? But I don't think we know the answer to that question yet. And we may not know the answer to that question, or they may not know the answer to that question until it actually happens. Right? Until they see the results of what's going on in the market. And if the PS5 Pro actually comes out next year and they start seeing a trend within the marketplace, that could completely change your plans. And it may not take about a year and a half or two to get like an upgraded version out, right? Like who knows? Like how long did they work on the 1X before it came out, right? Don't know. We don't know how long that was in research and development, how long that plan
I
was
would
for them to do
assume that it would have been probably the 1X was probably in development right when the Xbox One came out, I would assume. Or like a year after.
Possibly. Right?
Yeah.
And that's why I'm like, because they would have to retool a bunch of shit just to get a Pro out now. And if they hadn't already planned on that, like, I don't know if there would be a point because you would be launching next gen right at the end by the time you got the Pro out. So it's like,
yeah. Who knows, man? I don't know. I'm not saying it's gonna happen. I'm not saying it's not gonna happen. I'm just saying, like, if I was Microsoft, I wouldn't want to lose the power narrative for 4 years, which is half the entire generation. Right? Like, personally, I wouldn't. Like, I think it would be a mistake. Like, I just do. Right? Now, we may have the best pipeline of games. We may have the best this, best that, all that stuff. You also got PC as an option. You got all these other things. But hardware-wise, depending on what the PS5 releases, and I think that's going to be a lot dependent on a lot of this. How much better is it? What is the performance gains? What is all that kind of stuff? Like, what are the games going to look like? Multiplats, especially third-party games that are big. What is the situation going to be there? And if it's looking like where it's a problem, then I would think you kind of have a scrambling of like, well, let's figure this out. Because 4 years of losing a power narrative is a long time.
I just don't think the power narrative matters as much as it used to.
You may be onto something because 75%, at least at one point, of Xbox owners were Series S. Now it's closer to supposedly it's closer now to 50-50, right? So there was a lot of articles running with that 75% of Series S's or of Xboxes are Series S's, right?
It's a waste of money.
But now it's like 50-50 apparently. Xbox and numerous people have come out to update people asking questions and say it's closer to 50-50 with Series S and a slight lead. But like even with 50-50, obviously like half of the consumers don't care about having the most powerful console, right? So it just depends.
It'd be a waste of money, like Jasper said. By the time they get everything tooled, everything ready, and then bring it out a year or two before the generation comes out. It's
what they did last gen.
No, they did 3 years. But they kind of had to because the original Xbox One was not the powerful console from the start. So here we are.
Yeah, but like PlayStation still had the power.
It was 4 years.
PlayStation still had the power advantage last generation, and they still put out a Pro last generation. Right? Now, I understand a lot of this last gen was for the purpose of 4K.
Was also the only console generation we had Pros, really.
Yes, that is correct.
That's true.
So, but again, if they heard Microsoft was making a Pro or making their, more powerful console, they got on quickly and put one out, and it still wasn't as powerful as the 1X. So again, if they try to do that now, I don't think Xbox, it would be in their favor. If anything, they'll start the next generation a year sooner, and then have the power narrative. The next generation starts with Xbox, type move, and then go from there. And
Yeah.
then
It's just so interesting because
unless-
consoles are so different than they were back in the day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you have this like
and
continuing ecosystem that doesn't get shut off, right? It's like, so what is a generation going to be? You know, like what is going to be how long are they going to support the last generation, next gen? You know, like who knows?
unless they buy like exclusivity for whatever architecture, or like if they do like what is that? RDNA will be what, RDNA 4 by then, you think?
Yeah.
Possibly. So if they have the exclusive rights to that, being like, you know what, fuck Sony, they can stick
There's
with
no
3,
way
we will 4.
AMD ain't
Nope.
doing that.
Yeah,
What is Xbox going to say
Exclusive.
though? Like PS5 Pro comes out and they always say the Xbox Series X most powerful console. They're going to say we'll have the discless version out. Like, what is it going to be the tagline at that point? The Xbox Series X,
Xbox, the platform that has games now.
right. The Xbox is where you play your games, right? Yeah. They can easily transition, but they have been selling that power narrative for years now, right?
Yeah, but again, with the PS5 Pro, what are they going to do? They're not going to. They might retool the CPU, but it's going to pretty much be the same. It might be a little bit higher clocked, maybe a little bit more efficient, but it won't be too much. It won't be a whole different architecture, because that won't be a good thing.
Yeah.
They'll have maybe more RAM. That's about it.
No, it's just going to be a
And
GPU
Xbox-
bump and maybe like a 100 megahertz CPU boost.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And what that's going to do, and then, oh, look, PS4, the PS5 Pro is now utilizing the tools that Xbox had from day one. Cool. You had to do a whole new mid-gen to catch up to Xbox. Like, congratulations.
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying like Xbox Series X is that mid-gen refresh. Like
Pretty much.
it's always
They
been.
just-
For me, I just wishful thinking is I think my heart just wants that like more powerful, because like I always want the best. You know what I mean? Out of my games.
yeah, but
And-
even with
Motherfucker
Xbox,
has a
it
PC
would-
that's going to be better than a fucking mid-gen refresh anyway.
Yeah,
But-
I know that, but like I don't always
Even-
play here. You know what I mean? I
the
also
thing-
play in other places in the house, and like I have this media room in there, and it's like I don't like playing in there now because games are so much better in here. But like if it had a more powerful Xbox, they could give updates on these games, and it would be closer. You know what I mean? 60 frames and Starfield, things like that.
I think
you
it's
know?
just a waste of R&D money. I think they're.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit about Microsoft wasting their money. Microsoft, you
Yeah.
freaking trillions of dollars.
Yeah,
Waste
but-
your money to give me better shit. I will buy
Yeah,
it.
but if it's they justified the 3 years, and even then like Sony had it for 4 years. So like if Xbox was going to do it, they were going to do it from
Yeah.
I mean,
2 years ago.
Microsoft, you could already say, is wasting the money because we just saw in the leaks that they subsidized like $1.5 billion for console loss. So it's like they're
Yeah.
wasting their fucking money. They're wasting $1.5 billion to give you a $500 fucking console
Yeah.
that they should be selling for $750.
Just okay, fine. Just make one, just for me. That's it. Just for me. You know, don't have to do anything. Just make a special
Yeah.
one, just for me.
Here's
And
more
then
RAM.
and then I want all the developers to update their games and stuff and take advantage of it, just for me.
You won't.
Just for
They
me.
won't
I'll
do
be
that
living good. You
because
guys.
PlayStation is again going to be the market.
Of course,
leader.
they're not going to do it.
So
for
they're not
me.
going to
Like-
utilize that. So you're going to have a more powerful
I know,
console
over-
that
like Psychos
not
here.
going to
I
utilize
don't
the
think
power.
they're going to do that. Of course, they're not going to do it for me. I'm joking, right?
But I'm just saying they're just not going to do that mid-gen refresh. They already said.
I
it,
wouldn't
so-
say-
I would also just like to point out that I did call the Xbox Series X refresh a couple hours before, so maybe you should take
Yeah.
this opinion as a little more
Okay.
weighted.
I would just say never say. I would say never rule anything out 100%. Right? Like things
Except for
change
The
dramatically.
CEO says no
In court, publicly.
in court.
That they didn't have plans to at the time. It doesn't mean that plans can't change. Like that's what I'm saying. Like, things change and evolve. Like Xbox always has, and who knows? I'm not saying it's going to happen. You guys, it's like I guarantee you guys, there's gonna be a next gen or mid-gen refresh, and we're gonna get like a more powerful Series X, and it's gonna be like all these updates and stuff's gonna be awesome. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's a possibility because PlayStation is doing it, right? If PlayStation does it, it makes it more of a possibility that Xbox.
This is
could
Microsoft's. Here's their slogan: Xbox been powerful since day one.
Okay.
PlayStation finally caught up to us. Congratulations, Sony. I'm just telling you. That's you're gonna see. You're gonna be like,
PlayStation's
oh, look,
spending
they're-
$300 million, whatever, to retool a fucking PlayStation 5 when they could be spending that money to make games. You know, it's like whatever.
Yeah.
Why spend that $300 million on making games when Bungie's just gonna ixnay them? So
Okay.
Yeah.
Jasper and Psycho, can y'all stay quiet for just 1 minute?
No.
Fuzzy,
No.
do you think it's a possibility
No.
that they could do this?
I think it's a possibility.
Thank you. Okay, we're good. We can move on to the next subject. That's all I was looking for. It's an open mind about a possibility. No, continue, Fuzz.
No, I will they do it? I have no idea.
Yeah.
I would have to see what the power output is for me to consider buying it, but you know, I think it's one of those things where it's like the chicken and the egg. So if PlayStation 5 has a PS5 Pro and all of a sudden they go back to like selling four for every one Xbox Series console, I think, and let's be clear, Xbox is already working on what that Pro model would be, or they've already R&D'd it. It's just a matter of like,
Is it
do
worth
they
it
go
for
to
them to
tooling?
do
And
it?
tooling isn't really, tooling shouldn't be that far off. Like, it's either based on the new case for the mid-gen refresh, or it'd be based on the old case that's currently in production.
Yeah, if they were going to do it, it would have been on that new 6 nanometer process that's going in the new Xbox Series X. And
yeah,
from all the documents, they haven't shown that there's any upgrade to that. So that's why it's like, I don't think it's happening.
yeah, but they wouldn't show their R&D stuff in those documents. Like,
No, but they would
show the
have
stuff.
showed that we're also having a 20% power boost to our GPU or whatever with that leak instead of.
But that was only talking about their current plans at the time, right? Of that, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, we're seeing stuff from 16 months ago, and we could be talking about decisions that they make a year from now, like, not necessarily.
Yeah, but if they make that decision a year from now, by the time that comes out, next gen would be almost out.
Not
exactly.
Not really. I think you could have it too. You could probably get it out in 2 years.
2 years? Are you gonna buy a new console 2 years before the newer console comes out? Because I ain't.
A lot of people did this past generation.
Yeah, people bought the series or the Xbox One S knowing that the Xbox One X was right around the corner. So, and then there were still people buying the Xbox One X just before the series consoles came out.
It's just depending on if they find it worthwhile, depending on what's happening in the market at the time. Like,
I'd rather have new games than a console that's good for 2 years.
It's not going to cost you games, Psycho. There's no way like that's going to cost you from getting games. Like, it's about if they feel the necessity to do it. Right now, and they're 16 months ago, obviously their thought process is that they didn't see the need or necessity to do it. And I'm not arguing that whatsoever. Like, what I'm saying is it could be a possibility in at one point that could have already either happened in the time that's passed or in the future, where it's a possibility that they could say they feel like they should do it, right? Either if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Like, but I just wouldn't say it's never going to happen 100%, because we don't know what the future holds and what the market's going to look like after PlayStation 5 does their Pro model. And if
I will say that I think the only way that happens is if AMD is so far delayed for next gen, and like Microsoft sees that from like their talks with AMD. Like, AMD's like, well, we're not going to get this new architecture out till 2029, 2030. Then Xbox may come out and be like, okay, now let's get a mid-gen refresh.
Yeah. Plus, they're not going to say anything prior to the PS5 Pro actually probably hitting shelves. Like, that's not going to stop them from churning the wheels in the background. But they want you to buy the current stuff before the mid-gen refresh, the normal one that was kind of exposed, is hitting the shelves. And then if there is a, ramped up one or something along those lines, that's probably already being worked on as far as getting those things ramped up now. And it wouldn't be announced until probably like I would say shortly after the 5 is, the 5 Pro is out there in the wild. Like they're going to want you to get whatever is already on their to-do list or pipeline in your hands, in your home, and then maybe, the enthusiasts will go ahead and upgrade, or maybe the enthusiasts are holding off on the refresh since it's not any gain for this, newer console that might be 550 or something like that, in comparison to the 500 that are going to charge for the refresh one. So
Yeah.
we'll see. I think it's too early to determine whether they will or won't do it. But
What would be more likely? Because one thing that we saw in their plans was that something they would like to do, but wasn't currently funded or in scope for first party. But that it's like they're kind of pitching that this is something we need to get to our goals by 2030 is a handheld, right?
yeah,
What would be more likely, them to get approval and funding and put that in scope to be able to achieve their goals, or focus on the other app? Because either way, you're gaining some consumers, or there's a
Yeah, I think they would probably go for other devices at that point, like more ecosystems.
Mhm.
Because if they really want to grow that number, the best way to do that would be to have more places to play.
Well, they're already
and
PC, they're already cloud gaming, they're already mobile.
yeah, I was just saying
right?
they would probably be more likely to fund that handheld device than
Yeah.
probably a pro model, just because they know they could get more
Right.
variety in consumers.
That would be interesting. That would be more like of a different thing for Xbox. I mean, they never did anything like that before, right? It would need to be native, like a native device. Like, it would need to be dockable as well. I feel like it would need to be almost like a handheld replacement for your Series S.
Do you think it would?
Yeah.
Dockable though.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, because look at it. Like, you buy this or you buy the Series S, right? You can play your games on the handheld, but then you can go dock it and play it on the TV. Like, I don't have an interest in buying when there's a Switch out there or other handheld devices.
Okay, let me ask you this then. What the fuck is the point of buying a handheld Xbox if you have 8 fucking Xboxes at the house you can play on any fucking TV, and you're going to buy a handheld that's less powerful just to dock it on a TV and have a less powerful experience?
Well,
what the fuck is the point of the handheld at that point?
It's about versatility. Like, it's about having to only own the one device and have it for two purposes. Like, I can play it in bed in handheld mode, or I can go and put it, on the TV, like as like a dock. Like,
didn't you see the launch Switch commercials?
On the TV.
Well, no, didn't you see the original Switch commercials? You take the handheld to work, and then when you come home, or before you even get home,
Yeah.
you're playing it at the park with people, and then you get home, and then you do the dock thing. That's the approach. Now, as far as Mav, he's gonna either be in bed with it, or he's gonna take it somewhere where they're out out and about type of thing, and then he might not set it down to switch to the other room with the X or something like that. So
I would get rid of every Series S in the house, and I would have those in the house instead. I have three Series X's and I have 3 Series S's. If you told me that a handheld was as powerful as the Series S, roughly, had basically the same kind of experience, but then I could pick it up and I could actually just play it like handheld, I would. Why not? You know what I mean? Like, it's just adding functionality and versatility to it. And there's a lot of gamers that prefer to play games that way. So you're actually broadening the market there. Now, there's devices out there for people already, like the ROG Ally, and you have the Steam Deck, which you can modify and hack to get your shit on there and stuff. And there's the cloud gaming devices like the Logitech G Cloud.
Everyone loves these damn handhelds and never plays some fucking handheld. They're always talking about docking the sons of bitches. Like, what the fuck you want a fucking handheld for?
A lot of those people play those games in handheld, but like the handheld market is exploding. Besides just the Switch, right? There's all these different devices. Like, you have all these different companies working on different things, and it's a verifiable, like, actual market to go after right now. And I think Xbox sees that as a potential. Now, obviously, in the documents we saw, it wasn't currently in scope that they have the ability to do funding wise and stuff like that. But again, that's 16 months ago, and proposal, that's what the purpose of that proposal's for, is to show like what the goals are, right, and what we would need to do to achieve that. So,
One caveat to add to this: did y'all see that Jason Ronald got a promotion?
no, what did he get? Head of handhelds?
I think he's like
I'm just kidding.
well, no, he's like I think hardware VP or something like that. So
Right.
he's definitely moved up another rung within the fold
Mhm.
over at Xbox. So you know that was before the plans that we have that leaked and stuff. So the plans that leaked were before his promotion. So there could already be changes already in the works since then.
Yeah, it could be. And I would say if you do it though, like make it a native Xbox device. Don't like have this open-ended ecosystem thing that you got to do all this other shit in. I understand like some people like, well, you're taking away my like functionality stuff. People are going to break and jailbreak that shit. You're going to be able to do all that stuff on it anyway.
According
but,
to
like,
the documents, the price range was $99 for the handheld with a thin OS, meaning that it's probably just a cloud device.
Nah, fuck that. No, it needs to be like
it needs to be 400 or 500 like Steam Deck, at least Steam Deck level, but with Series S capability, which if I'm not mistaken, that hardware is available from AMD. It's just a matter of the battery life is
right,
not that great.
Mhm.
It's like 2 to 4 hours.
How much would you would you pay for like a handheld Series S? Right,
$0.
Not at, somebody that would actually buy it, be interested in buying it.
It would top out at around the 500 mark. Like $499 is a bit on the steep side of things, but if they could do it at 400, oh man, that
Yeah.
it
Is that
wouldn't
what
be
you
even
think
a
the
second
Switch?
thought.
Is that what you think the Switch 2 is going to be priced at?
450, 400.
Yeah, I would say it's at least 400, if not 450. I hope they don't do 500, but I wouldn't be
Yeah.
surprised if the DLSS capability is worthwhile on the next one.
Yeah.
I think it might even tap the 500 mark. So
Mhm.
and people will pay it because a more powerful Switch is what they've been asking for, and if it can play, you know, current gen games somewhat, just upscaled, 500 will be fine.
Yeah.
But a handheld Xbox, 400 to 500 is the window. I mean, if it's less than 400, obviously, if it plays natively, but 4 to 500. If it's like 500 plus, I'll
It'll
have
be
to
a
wait
hard-
until
yeah.
it's on sale.
You know
it'd
there's
be a
going to be
hard
more
sell.
than a Series S. Like,
Yeah, but Series S is what 300 now.
yeah.
Yeah.
So if it's 400, perfect. 500,
Well, you got to
not
think
perfect,
if
but
the-
I'll buy it.
If the Switch, I think it'd be priced whatever the Switch 2 would be priced at. Because they would be like, look, it's more powerful than the Switch 2, or probably, and it's also you have Game Pass, and they kind of like it opened the market as like people would like look at it a little differently, the Xbox brand a little differently, just seeing a handheld, right? So it'd be an interesting experiment for them to do. But I think you need to market it as that like closed ecosystem type, you know, Xbox device and stuff, and let people decide that are going to pick up a Switch 2 whether they get the Xbox and that has this library on it, or get the Switch. Which the Switch 2 is going to sell like crazy. I'm not saying in any realm of possibility that like an Xbox handheld will like be strong competition against the Switch 2. I'm just saying like you might get some of those consumers to buy one of those, right? So
Yeah, if they make a handheld, there won't be a mid-gen refresh.
yeah, that's why that was the point of my question. I said, what would be more likely, Psycho, to do the handheld or the upgrade, right? Okay.
Handheld.
Yeah. Okay. I actually personally agree. I agree with that. I think it's more likely that they would do a handheld, because you got to look at the amount of consumers that they would get out of it, return on investment, right? I think they would see it as a potential like consumer growth opportunity to do that, as opposed to the more powerful console, right? So it's interesting, but we'll see what happens. That's a big conversation. Spartan661 with $5 super chat says, having fun speculation as we are talking. What do you think of Phil Spencer being the head of Microsoft in the next 10 to 15 years. Do any of you speculate on his future? He's had a long run already.
He won't be the head of Microsoft. He won't be like Satya level. He's not going to be the CEO of Microsoft.
I think the thing is, it's hard to say because he's already achieved so much, and he's been at Microsoft for so damn long. I don't think he's going to be anywhere like to the point of being head of Microsoft. I mean, he's already head of, like, CEO of Microsoft Gaming, which is they've ascended him just about probably to the extent of where it's going to go. I would think probably the question I have is, how long does he stay? At what point does he decide he wants to retire or move on? I don't think he's the type that's like one of these other executives or CEOs that gets brought in, oversees things, and then moves on to another opportunity at another company to oversee things and stuff, because like he's a Microsoft lifer. It's different than other guys.
Yeah, I say he lasts until at least the launch of next gen.
I think
probably
he stays until he's ready to retire, probably.
Yeah.
Right. But his role might change slightly in the meantime, like as far as like things he oversees. The ABK is interesting, right? As well, like it's going to add a lot to the fold. Other acquisitions going to add a lot to the fold as their ambitions have grown in gaming. His role also changes more to where he's overseeing so many different aspects and less in tune with each single one, right? So but I think he feels a responsibility as well to make sure that everything is like I don't think he leaves until he retires until he's like ultra confident that like his vision was met. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, also like there could just be one day where he wakes up and he's like, I have enough money. I just want to retire with my family and just go spend time on the beach with my kids.
Yeah,
like,
it could. Yeah. He could be like, I'm sick of chasing this shit. It's like, you know, who knows? Lord Starkiller with a $5 super chat says, thanks for being right on top of the ABK coverage, Mav. With a preliminary ABK approval by the CMA, the rest should be a formality. Absolutely, the rest is just a formality at this point. It is it's happening, it's over. Like, this deal's done. And the next news is you're gonna hear is gonna be coming out about like closing dates and like stuff like that. You might hear a little bit about the third party like people that come out and talk, but like Sarah Cardell already sat in front of cameras and swallowed her pill, right? She already like had to stand up there and take the L where she tried to post blame still on Microsoft for making her look bad. But like she that's once she did that, it's like it's over. She's not gonna go do that again. Like she's not gonna go and do like, well, we changed our mind because some other idiot company said that they don't like it. All of a sudden, no, this is done. Formality. It's gonna close. But we do have a little bit of Tokyo Game Show stuff to get into. No, we won't spend a lot of time because honestly, there's not a whole lot that was big news at Tokyo Game Show. I have a list here. I did watch it right before PM in the PM yesterday, and there was more about like, hey, yeah, we're really trying in Japan and we're doing great things here, and here's Square Enix's CEO, and here's like this person, and here's this person here talking about our, you know, strength in Japan and everything we're trying to do. They had some cool announcements. First thing they had was Party Animals show up, and they showed Ori in there. So that was interesting. You have Phoenix Wright. I think it's a collection, the trilogy, right, coming to Xbox. It's a pretty big franchise. You know, I've always kind of seen it more of a Nintendo thing, personally. I honestly didn't even know other ones came out to Xbox before. But I don't know if they've been away or if they're coming back because I just haven't paid too much attention. I just always saw them marketed like at Nintendo events and stuff like that.
And it always seemed like a boring game. Like, who wants to just sit in a courtroom in a video game?
People love this game. Like, it really, there's people that love Phoenix Wright. Like, they're like absolutely obsessed with it. I haven't played one, so I can't really speak to how good it is. Then you had Pal World showed again, which looks really good. That's that Pokemon with guns. Forza was shown with a Japan track. Very short Forza trailer was shown. It was like
10 seconds.
It was so short. It was crazy short. Then Then you had Persona 5 Tactica show up again, which that's looking great. I'm super excited for that. Again, that's coming to Game Pass day one as well, I believe, right? I think that one is it? I know that.
Well,
Yeah,
both
okay.
Personas are.
Right. Then you had PUBG show up. Okay. Dragon Quest: The Adventure of Dai. Does this excite
Next
you,
week?
Psycho? Yeah, this is next week, and I think this one's coming to Game
Yes.
Pass as well, or is it not?
No,
No? Okay.
no, not Game Pass, but it is coming next week, and it did get physical editions, but only for Switch and PS5.
Right on.
Yeah, so this is based off the manga Adventure of Dai. So, so this one, because I believe the character was from Dragon Quest 6, I believe. Oh no, was it 6? It was like either 4 or 6. He was based on, and he was just like a beloved character. So they made a manga recently, and so this is based off the manga. But it's like an action adventure
Yeah.
with RPG elements, kind of like how Spider-Man and God of War is.
Jesus Christ, that fucking conversation.
Yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there.
Oh,
yeah,
shit.
so
Yeah.
it's one of those. It's so it's not like
It's not a full blown RPG, basically.
correct, yeah, because like Dragon Quest 11, you know, you had you ran up to somebody and then it went into a battle. This is not like that. You see them, you attack them right there. There's no like battle sequence that starts up when you fight each character. So this is what this game's about, and so it's more of the mainstream action. People that like that type of I wouldn't even call it an RPG, but action adventure game.
Right on.
So that's what this is more about.
Cool. Then we have Althea, the Wrath of a Fury. It's like a little puzzler kind of game that looked interesting and indie looking. They talked about this game. They had kind of a long segment on this one, from what I remember, and I think they had the developers talking about it and stuff, and it was cool.
Yeah, trying to be some artsy fartsy thing.
Yeah, I'm sure there's people that love that.
Yeah.
It just wasn't really interesting for me, right? That game specifically. Then you had Mineko's Night Market. Honestly, I don't remember a damn thing about that game. What was Mineko's Night Market? Does anybody remember?
It had a little girl on the image. That's all I remember.
Okay. It's like a farm. Is it a farming game? Like a.
I don't remember.
Okay. This is what the description is. It says Mineko's Night Market was shown at the event, showing game mechanics, showcasing crafting, eating, and a bunch of cats. The title itself is about celebrating Japanese culture while introducing a heartwarming story about friendship, tradition, and many, many cats. This is for you, Fuzz.
Yeah, I didn't watch any of the Tokyo Game Show, unfortunately, but the highlights for me so far, you haven't brought up yet, but the what do you call them? The Like a Dragon series, and the Yakuza Race's Name one. Those are the those are the ones those are the ones I'm looking most forward to so far.
Calorie says that the Mineko game is like an Animal Crossing clone type game. It's cool. I don't mind Animal Crossing games. Persona 3 Reload again was shown, and that one is February 2nd and coming to Game Pass day one. Then you had Fallout 76 content. Atlantic City, I believe, is what they showed for that.
Yeah, they announced that it's going to be 2 DLCs instead of 1 DLC now. So
okay,
for whatever that's worth.
The first of that will be on December 5th. Is that free like for everybody? Like,
I don't think so. I think you got to pay for Fallout DLCs.
Okay. Then I'm not sure. Wolong Fallen Dynasty. DLC. Conqueror of Jiandong DLC has been announced for Wolong Fallen Dynasty, along with a Liza P crossover, which was interesting. Gives players iconic items from the game to wear. The expansion will be available on December 27th on Xbox, PC, and PS5. DLC you probably have to pay for as well, right? Not in Game Pass, or is the DLC in Game Pass?
Probably got to pay for it, I would assume.
Yeah,
I think you have to pay for it. Although I wouldn't be surprised if there's a perks thing for Ultimate probably in the next couple of months.
Right on. Then Yakuza Like a Dragon. Like a Dragon Ishin and Like a Dragon Gaiden were both announced to release on Game Pass for console and PC. Like a Dragon Infinite. There's so many fucking Yakuza games, and the whole naming conventions are changed now. I get so damn confused, honestly, when I'm talking about Yakuza stuff, so bear with me.
I had interest, like, they were starting to give me interest in Yakuza games. I was like, I might play one. Now there's like 17 fucking Yakuza games coming out. I'm like, I don't care anymore.
Right. So it's all Like a Dragon now, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Like a
Well,
Dragon.
that's the most recent. So it's like the split off from the originals because of the new character.
Okay. So there's Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth will be released on January 26, 2024. On PC, PS5, PS4, Xbox One X and S, and Xbox One. And then that one is not announced for Game Pass, I believe, right? Or is that
The
one
new
announced?
one's not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then Gaiden will be released on November 9th, 2023. So they have Gaiden releasing on November 9th, and they have Infinite Wealth releasing on January 26th. A couple months from each other. Cool, I guess.
Fucking pumping these things out faster than fucking Mario games come out.
Ishin, which was already announced, already released early this year, and will hit Xbox Game Pass later this year as well. Right, so you had Ishin, Gaiden, Infinite Wealth. And that's it. So there's three Yakuza games.
There's 3 that showed up.
Right, and 2 of them are coming to Game Pass, and then there's one new one.
Yep. Which will probably come to Game Pass. They just haven't fucking announced it.
It will eventually.
Yeah.
Just like Ishin was been out for a while, it'll come to Game Pass. Sega's like you can almost count on shit from Sega coming to Game Pass eventually, right? It's like Company Heroes 3. I'm shocked it hasn't come to Game Pass yet. Honestly,
I was hoping that would be. If they announced that here, that would have made the show for me. But like this show's like I could care less.
Mm-hmm. Ayuden Chronicles 100 Heroes got a date, April 23rd.
I will say that actually looked all right.
It looks great, man.
I'm not like a big JRPG person or whatever, but I was like, I might give that a shot.
Yeah, that was actually the star of the show for me, I think. As far as like what I'm most excited to play based on what I saw. And that is a Game Pass Day 1 game as well. But we're getting that next year. So we already got this pipeline for next year is already starting to line up, guys, with like Yakuza stuff already, and you got this as well now. Elder Scrolls Online expansion.
It's Japanese localization.
Sorry, Japanese localization. Yeah. Okay. That's cool. Yeah, it should have already been a thing. It just doesn't need to like be like it shouldn't even be a thing that has to be mentioned at a show, right?
Yeah, that's like a blog post announcement.
Yeah, it should be a given to begin with, I would think, right?
I think they're trying to bring attention to, how they're, focusing on that region a good bit more. Like, just side note, for Starfield, I have never seen as many share posts in Japanese as I've seen for Starfield in comparison for any other Xbox title. So they're making gains.
Yeah, right on. So there's that. There's My Lovely Empress. It says it's about building up an empire using resources and allies to create a thriving empire. You can perform rituals to resurrect beings such as yokai. It will be released in 2024. I don't remember much from that one. Also,
it's part of. I know they said it's part of a series. I think it was like the other one was like My Lovely Wife or some shit. I forgot.
My Lovely
Wife,
like My Lovely Daughter, and then this is
My Lovely series. It's a sequel or
My lovely Empress. Okay.
add on to that. Yeah.
All right, then we got season 2 of Exo Primal, October 18th. He's got a bunch of new content. There's also a Street Fighter crossover, which we've already seen before, right?
Yeah, we saw the dude. I can't even think of his fucking name right now. He was supposed to be in it. They showed that off like at E3, but then they announced Chun-Li and this is coming.
Then we got Hotel Barcelona, which is the game that is the Swery and Suda game mix teaming up together. It's like an action 2D game, horror side scroller hack and slash where you fight a variety of bosses in a giant hotel. The bosses are actually a wide variety of serial killers. As you progress through the game, you go through a variety of floors and attempt to reach the end. Each boss is harder than the last. Every time you die, you'll be able to upgrade your character, making them stronger. Very interesting. They spent a lot of time on this game.
Yeah, it seems like a cool concept, but the game just looks like, oh, okay.
It's going to be one of those games that's going to be way more fun to play than it is to like look at, right? Like I feel like this is going to be one of those games that's going to be a blast to actually try and play. So we'll see how that unfolds. That one is in 2024. We didn't get a date on it. And was that announced for Game Pass or anything like that as well? I don't think so.
I think they just said 24.
Right. So yeah, there we go. That was the list. Oh, and Octopath Traveler 2 is coming early 2024. Cool. I mistook it. I was upset at first because I thought that when they said winter 2024, I was thinking like we're gonna have to wait like 14 months. But the graphics, I'll say early 2024. I'm not thinking like winter, Japan and all that kind of, you know what I mean? Like, so, early 2024, Octopath Traveler 2 coming to Xbox.
Well, winter solstice starts December 22nd, so that's so pretty much you got the 3 months right there. So December, late December, January, February.
Yeah,
January, February.
Right. I just always think of winter as like, around Christmas time. So I was thinking, we're gonna have to wait. Like, I don't think of it as like, because usually when they announce games for like early the next year, they say spring here. You know what I mean? They say like spring, and we think of, oh, it's early next year or whatever. Or like, they'll say early, but they saying the words winter. Just
because they didn't want to say holiday, because holiday would have meant next year 2020.
Yeah, no, it makes
Christmas.
It makes complete sense. It was just me being an idiot, is what I'm saying. Like early 20.
I don't think you're being an idiot. That shit was confusing anyway.
All right, early 2024 though is way better, right? So
yeah, their terminology is a little bit different how we think of things. So it's.
It would have been better if they said Q1.
I mean, technically they're accurate also. So it's like I can't like. Well, you should have worded things more clearly. I was obviously very clear. It's just my way, the way I think about it is different, right? So, anyway, so that was it. And also we've had other news. We had a recent announcement that Gotham Knights is coming to Game Pass. We've had Party Animals just hit Game Pass. Payday 3 just hit Game Pass.
But Payday 3's been unplayable for like 3 days now. So
yeah, the servers are like down or whatever crashed, all the time. Yeah. So I'm sure they'll get it fixed and stuff, but maybe not anticipating the amount of people wanting to jump in from Game Pass, right?
Yeah.
Liza P just hit Game Pass, which is a lot of people are loving that, especially if you're a Souls fan. If you're not a Souls fan, if you don't like Souls games, you're probably gonna hate Liza P, apparently. But if you like Souls games, you're probably gonna love it. So all right, but that's pretty much all the big news. Other than there's a little bit of Forza news today that came out as well. Chris Sasaki came out and mentioned about a very short announcement on the post, right? But he said that there will be cars come out once a month. Car packs, I believe, come out once a month, and then there's going to be weekly events. So that's kind of the pattern that we're going to have from live service, at least at first. No, he didn't say anything about tracks as part of that short announcement. So I think that obviously tracks will be a part of it in the future because they are treating this as a long run game. But did they release? They finally released the full track list as well, right, Fuzz?
Yeah,
So
yeah, they have 20 at launch. A few of my favorites didn't make the launch cut, but still a pretty decent grouping for the first 20 to
Yeah.
start. A couple of I think there's 4 fantasy tracks, including bringing back Maple Valley, and then 3 new to Forza ones.
Right on. Yeah, can't wait for Forza Motorsport. Have you thought about it more? Are you going to be day one, Fuzz?
I'm gonna try my best to be day one. Like I'm hoping they listen to some of the feedback they're getting on the parts progression, like the driver level stuff or the car progression or car level is fine. I'm kind of hoping they do something closer to what GT does, where they're based on your driver level as opposed to the individual car. Where once you make it to level 10, these first beginner or the second tier of beginner mods are available, but it's available to any car, type of thing. So it's not
Yeah, I wonder
like
if they have like a universal parts, like kind of like how Call of Duty, like they have universal attachments, but they also have exclusive attachments you earn for leveling up guns. Like, I wonder if
Mhm.
it's something like that.
I mean, it would be nice if they do that for maybe some of the engine swaps and things like that. But once you I think the big thing is, and I'm a person that likes to get multiple of the same car sometimes. Um, if I buy a Mustang today, make it level 50, the next Mustang I buy to mod it, I have to get that one up to level 50 as well. As opposed to, it should be that the level 50 on the first one should have unlocked the second one's parts and stuff. So hopefully they reconsider some of that. But the everything else I feel is sound and a way of making progression so people feel like they've earned stuff, but some stuff might get frustrating where if I'm building a drift Mustang and a drag racing Mustang and a track worthy Mustang, so that way I don't have to keep on switching out builds
Or can
for
you maybe, is
individual.
there like a save profile thing so you can quickly like swap it out for the
There
car?
is, but sometimes I want to also change the paint scheme. So to do the
Oh,
quick swap
okay.
on the saves, because like my drift paint scheme is going to look different than my track paint scheme or my drag racing car paint scheme kind of thing. So the previous versions of Forza, you could always switch the what do you call them, the tunes easily
Yeah.
and not have to worry about it. But if I have my drift car look a certain way, I want to just leave it as a drift car. I don't want to turn it into the drag racing car and switch the tune, which it looks like that might be the way you have to go unless you want to, level up that second Mustang or whatever other car, to
I
level 50 as well.
I think if you have the same car, I don't think you have to level it up again.
No, the way it is right now, you do.
Really? I could have
Yeah.
sworn
So
in
if
the
you
past.
buy
Really?
in the past, it wasn't like that, but
No,
actually,
I
if you
mean
look
I
at
thought
motorsport,
I thought he was asked that question on one of the things, and he said you don't have to level up the same car twice. But maybe I was mistaken. Yeah.
it
What
looks like
came
for
out
those that have the
today?
early access, it's
Okay.
same car. Like if you buy another Mustang, it's got to be leveled up.
But like, so if it's like, if I buy like a 67 Shelby GT 500, right? And I
Mhm.
level it up to a 50, right? And then I turn it into a certain kind of track car or something, like a drag racer,
Mhm.
right? If I buy another 67 Shelby GT 500, the exact same car, I have to level
Mhm.
that
Yeah,
one up.
leveled up.
Yep.
Wow. Okay.
That's the early access people. That's where that's how it is right now.
Because I
So
could
I'm hoping they
understand
change
another
that.
Shelby GT, different year, different version of
Yeah.
it. Like, you know what I mean? But that's interesting. Okay. But
Yeah,
wow, it's
that I
really
did not like.
individual car like owner. Like it's man,
Oh yeah.
this is even more
Cause,
exciting.
yeah, because
So there's
it
definitely going
should
to be
be.
attached, like your favorite cars, or
Dude,
you've put in
honestly,
many hours.
I know this is people may hate this, right? This shit is actually like exciting to me because it's like the kind of stuff that I wanted, right? Like, I know people hate this.
Yeah, everyone on the internet today was fucking bitching about it.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. I'm sorry that I wanted this and that they made it for people like
put
me.
it into fruition, so blame Mav.
They must have seen one of our old episodes where I was like, please make it more grindy. I really want a sense of car ownership. I wanted all of that.
Oh yeah, there's definitely car ownership.
Did they say it's like hard to come by cars and afford them and stuff like that? Is it like, are you
you have to get a 9-to-5 job and work for fucking 10 years?
No, I don't mean that. But
yeah, it's not like Gran Turismo where it's going to be like realistic bid prices and crap like that. But I think the cars are going to be reasonably priced, like close to reality, and money seems to be easy to come by. Like in the time it takes you to level up that first car, you've probably earned enough money to get your next 2 or 3 cars.
Okay.
And then the modifying is based on the points which you would have already earned.
They need to lower that a little bit to where you can only afford to buy 1 car by the time you've reached the max level. Maybe 1.5, right? Give you a little
it depends on the price point of the cars. Like if you start with a $50,000 car,
right,
you probably could buy maybe 2 more $50,000 cars. But if you're looking for that $100,000 or $1 million car,
I gotta work my way up to the fancy cars, right? That's what I want.
This is playing a dangerous game because I could see them selling like car skip pass $50. You want to skip all the levels, pay $50, and it becomes like super shitty microtransaction.
People will lose their shit over that. I think they already said they're not going to be doing any of that stuff. So,
I think they can make enough money off of the VIP upgrade for the car packs or the car pass. Yeah. Like if you do the upgrade for $35, you already get at least the first year's worth or first 8 months worth, I think. But then after that, the car packs are usually like $10. And you wind up getting 10 to 12 cars in those. So that's where they'll make most of their money is with the car packs after like the first 6 months or so. Unless they do like more like annual VIP things. So each year you pay $35 to get, pretty much a year's worth of cars type of thing.
Yeah. Right on, man. This is cool. This is sounding awesome for me. I'm sorry to everybody else. I really am. But this is like something I've taught y'all. If you've heard old episodes of like Xbox Ultimate where we talk about Forza, like this kind of stuff is like what I've been asking for and wanting, like to have that, like, okay, I got to do all these races and finally get to afford the next car and then, grind it up. And then like, I don't want to be able to buy the expensive fancy cars for a long time. Right. I want to like have that as like a end goal that I can finally achieve after putting hundreds of hours into the game, like, I don't know. It's just
but by the time you get to that expensive car, you've already ran the same track like 5,000 times, and you're like,
yeah, but you're getting better at it. You're getting better at the track, and you're getting better placement. You're getting more engaged with the competition aspect of it, right? Like you play it becomes more of like a competition thing and improvement of improving yourself and improving your car and feeling a sense of accomplishment with what you've achieved instead of just, here, I'm just going to trick out my car to be the best fucking possible thing on the planet and just easily win every race, right? Like, I really like that aspect of the improvement and the journey, right? And that's what I've been missing from motorsport for a little while, right? It's been kind of more like, here you go, the slot machine at the end of the race, and you fucking get 5 cars. Congratulations, you're a millionaire and you got 5 cars. Hey, do you want this? You want this fucking super rare, ultra, like, $5 million car that we just gave you? Hey,
yes, because I would love to have fun so I can go play another game in 2 weeks instead of fucking spend 7 months grinding for a fucking Ferrari.
Yeah. You know what, motherfucker? Go play Forza Horizon, okay? Put all the slot machine car candy and shit like that in that game as you want. You want to sell cars for a nickel? You want to give people fucking Ferraris and Lambos and Rolls Royces and all this shit for fucking for nothing? For just like finishing a 5-second drag race? Whatever it is, go ahead. I love that. That's the car collection game. A car sim, I want that journey, that fucking grind of hard-earned wins and improvement along the way. Yes, that's what I want from Forza Motorsport. Personally, anyway. Personally. I know most people are going to hate it, but I'll love it. So, anyway, we're gonna get everybody out of here. Whew. You guys rock. This was a fun show. Psychonauts, tell everybody where they can find you, bro.
Thanks for coming out, everybody.
Hold on, Psycho. Sorry. Shut up. I just realized I missed 2 super chats. My bad. Spartan661 hit us with the $2. Says, my Tiger handheld was and is your Nintendo Switch. Is that a Tiger handheld? You talking about those old Tiger like games that you used to play in the backseat of your car when your parents took you on to vacation that you didn't want to go to? And it ran out of batteries, and you had to make sure you took like 2 huge packs of fucking AA batteries along the way. And it looked like shit, but they're fun as hell. Oh my god, those were great. I miss the way the buttons felt and the sound effects on those games. Like I played baseball and all that shit on those things. It was great. Lord Starkiller with a $5 super chat says, great to see more JRPGs coming to Xbox. Want to play Persona 5 Tactica, Infinity Strash, and Like a Dragon Gaiden? We'll continue with Starfield first. That's awesome, man. I'm glad you're looking forward to those. All right, sorry for interrupting you and calling and telling you to shut up, Psycho. You can continue now, my friend.
No,
love you.
Thanks for everyone coming.
Oh, just got a new super chat.
Fuck you.
I didn't want
everybody
to
for coming
forget
out.
those.
No, it's all right. It's understandable. Thanks everybody for coming out. It was great to have you in chat and great energy. I know it was a light group tonight, but real life comes around. So we don't know what happened to 3-bit. So we're just chalking it up to he was busy at work. But you can find us everywhere at Psychonauts 8 on social media. Mondays, FSP at 10 o'clock. Tuesdays, we brought back Fun Pop at 10 o'clock. And then here every Fridays with the great panel and talking about Xbox news.
Right on, bro.
Thank you.
Thanks, Psycho. Fuzzy Belvedere. Where can everybody find you, sir?
Thank you for having us or having me on tonight. Awesome show, awesome week for Xbox as a whole. Thanks for everybody that was interacting with us in the chat. Hit that like button if you haven't already. Subscribe if you haven't already. For those who want to hear my rambles and rants on anything gaming, just follow me on the app formerly known as Twitter at I was about to say Forza underscore Fuzzy underscore Belvid here. And then, check us out or check me out tomorrow on the Shop Podcast, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on PTK Blam Show. And then look forward to seeing you guys here for FSP on Monday, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right here on this channel. See you then.
Thanks, Fuzz. And Lord Jasper.
Yo, check it out. Lord Jasper Twitter, Lord Master Jasper on YouTube. I can never say that. It's always like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like I can't get that to flow. Need to work on that. Just say it to myself over and over again. What an outro it's going.
Weird. Please do that and film yourself doing it. Like Lord Jasper, Lord Master Jasper. How's it supposed to go? Do it all over again.
Yo, check it out. Lord Jasper Twitter, Lord Master Jasper YouTube. Yeah, that's better.
Yeah, you did it.
See, yeah, all that fun stuff. Check out the build guides. Doing that Monday, Friday, and Tuesday. I don't know why I say it that order. Man, this is going great. 10 p.m. Eastern right here on the Fun Speculation Network for all those shows, FSP, Fun Pop, and Xbox Ultimate. And thank you again to Alvin for the 3080. Much love. Appreciate that so much. Greatest gift I ever got. I mean that 100% too.
Wow. Yeah, you sounded like my dad.
What are you gonna do?
Like at Christmas back in the day when we got him a tie, he was like, "Thank you for this." Until you're like, "This is the greatest gift ever." Yeah, that was awesome.
No, I like from my tone, I was like, "This isn't being sincere," so I was like, "I gotta add extra words to it."
Right. Yeah, definitely. Was awesome, Alvin. But everybody, we'll be back Monday for FSP, Tuesday Fun Pop, Thursday PM in the PM, Friday again for Xbox Ultimate. Maybe you'll see some other streams pop up here and there for the weekend. But until then, thank you all for being here, and you all fucking rock. CMA's done. They're cooked. ABK's closing. Microsoft got the bag. Microsoft got COD. Microsoft got all that shit. And we are the benefactors. Have a good night. Peace out.
And we may be live in 2 hours with more breaking news.
Yeah, if it happens, that's what's gonna happen. Oh my god. Peace out.